Is it Joey B versus Donnie T?
Oh, you really don't know anything about politics.
No, I've told you, I don't know.
Okay, you're never getting on Real Time.
Club Random.
Chevy Chase, Robin Williams, and they treated him as a peer, just based on this little 200-seat nightclub.
Club Random.
It's about time we met. Great to
Mr.
see
Bill,
you.
how you doing, my friend?
Nice to see you.
Feel good?
Thanks. I haven't even sat down yet. Yes, I feel. How do you feel?
What are you, about a size 34 waist?
30, yeah, well, that's a little big for me. 33.
30 inch? Oh, you go
32.
European size.
This is a very odd way to start to get to know a young, good-looking man. What are people going to think out there? They're going to think that it's some sort of a setup here.
It's Club Random, dude. You know what? I randomly picked a sexuality to start the show. The gayest I ever feel in my life is when I'm in Los Angeles.
Oh. Well, wait a minute. I resemble that remark.
No, but it's not, it's what it is. I get it. Everybody's got stories. I had one opportunity out here a few years ago. I had a sitcom pilot, and the head of the department over there was a gay guy. And he would always flirt with me a little bit, talked about my shoulders. He wanted me to wear a little bit tighter pants. So I called my father back in New York. I said, what do I do? My dad said, listen, you wear a little bit of tighter pants and you do what you got to do for the family. Show him a little ass.
Is that true?
Yeah, it's
or
true.
Or is that a bit?
No, I will not, Bill, I promise you, I won't. I'm one of those guys, I'll tell you the truth. I'll tell you the truth. When I do bits, they're on stage. Okay. I don't like to do the bits on the pod.
All right. We don't have to have a duel about it.
The whole thing.
Jesus Christ, where's my second?
What's the second?
I'm sorry. Yeah,
Let me have some tequila. Should we?
Yeah, don't say it like I need some tequila to get through suffering your stupid
No, I'm not
comment.
suffering. Dude,
I'm just
you look like my Aunt Eileen.
My aunt?
I got an Aunt Eileen. She's got the same haircut as you.
Oh.
But it's a compliment.
I guess that's more of a slam on her, really.
Exactly. No, I'm telling you, we've been saying, and my Aunt Eileen, she's watching, we've been saying, want some?
No.
Okay. We've been saying...
Yes. No.
We've been saying my Aunt Eileen looks like Bill Maher since you become, well-known.
Oh.
Yeah, and then I got another Aunt Janet, she looks like Ron Perlman. No, I'm sorry, Rhea Perlman. That'd be sick if she looked like Ron Perlman.
I once said to this girl, and I don't think she was this actress, and she was like 40, and I said, she was like bitching and moaning about how Hollywood discards you when you're, and it's true, it's not nice. And I said, please, you could still play the ingenue. And she started to laugh, and I went, oh wait, I meant to say you could still play Maya Angelou. And she didn't think it was very funny.
Bill, can I say something right now? It's an honor, of course, to be on this pod with you, and I really do mean that, truly.
Oh, thank you.
It is. I'm from New York, New Jersey. Anybody who makes it from the original 13, fan.
Colonies, you mean?
Original 13 colonies. To me, that's
a
America.
pretty broad grouping that you're, that encompasses a lot of people.
If you're from the original 13...
That's not really a great compliment,
Dude, when I find out a guy's from the original 13 colonies, I like you and I support you.
So that would be South Carolina?
From South Carolina all the way up to New Hampshire.
So as long as you're from South Carolina, you're a made man. Is that what you're...
Made man, I'm freedom first, okay? Every code to every phone door I have is 1776, and that's how we roll. I'm not political at all. I just love my country. As you can tell by my haircut, I really love this country.
I do too.
Yeah.
We're not going to argue about that.
No, not at all.
I mean, I'm always bitching and moaning about how much I don't like to live in this country where if you don't agree with somebody, you don't want to breathe the same air.
Right.
As someone once said to me about being at a party with someone else who didn't have the same politics, and it's just not going to get solved that way.
No.
And the specific thing about America, I've done many pieces about this. I just ask for perspective and a little education for the people who are talking about America in such an ignorant way. It's like, I'm not blind to all of our problems. I just have the perspective of knowing what other countries are like. And you don't. I could just tell by your non-facts. You don't know what you're talking about. And I please, I've heard people say they want to move. I mean, I hated that in the 60s, like, love it or leave it. That was the exact opposite of how we felt on the liberal side. But the liberals changed. And I would never say to somebody, love it or leave it. But if you're rooting against it, or if you have no perspective and think it's the worst place in the world, yeah, I don't think that's a kind of person who's going to build a better country.
Well, here's the good news for you. Is you're a guy, you've always been the same. You stuck to who you are, and you just kept, no matter, the country was changing, but you stayed who you are. Because I remember, 15 years ago in the neighborhoods I was from, I'm from like Ridgewood, Bushwick area, Queens, Middle Village, Glendale area. It's like, cops, firemen, blue collar part of New York. There was a time when the country was changing. People, I remember my friends were like, fuck Bill Maher. What does he got to say? That fucking lesbian. What does he got to say?
Lesbian?
No, because the country was going the other way. But now you've just stuck to who you are. And now those same guys are like, you doing Bill Maher? That guy's a fucking hero. So you just stuck to who you are. And that's the good news about you.
Right. Well,
you're trustworthy.
Yes. Yes. Where I've gained conservative fans, it's because I refuse to get on the crazy train all the way to Woketown. And I've made a whole thing about trying to point out constantly how wokeism is different than old school liberalism and blah, blah, blah. We don't have to go through all that political jazz here.
I was going to say,
I don't think your friends are probably people I wouldn't like and maybe they do vote for Trump. I would tell them, I don't.
Well, most of my friends are felons, can't even vote.
Really?
But the ones that one is definitely a felon. He cannot vote. But the other ones, I would say.
Why, you hung out with a bad crowd?
No, not necessarily the bad crowd. It's the neighborhood I was from. Again, I was from the old school New York neighborhoods.
Yes. It's interesting. We should pause here to tell Mid-America. They probably think, if they know anything about geography, Queens, New Jersey, we are both satellites of New York City.
Yes.
We're probably equidistant from the heart of Manhattan,
Yeah.
and yet I think worlds apart.
Yes.
Because just like listening to you, that accent, I don't have that accent. That is a Queens, New York accent. You sound like that, and I sound like a regular, normal person.
Yes.
A radio announcer, a person who enunciates and speaks clearly for a living. Because New Jersey, we don't come from New York.
Yeah, we both live about 20 miles away from Manhattan, but I fixed your boiler. My family and we fixed your boiler. We put the floors in your house. That's who we are. We take care of your garbage. Right. Thank you, Mr. Maher. You tipped me at Christmas, sir. But I was saying it's an honor to meet you, and I really do mean that, but it's an as equal honor to be sitting in the chair that Richard Dreyfuss sat in on this podcast. I would assume that you have every guest come on or multiple guests. I'm telling you, Bill, I'm being honest with you. We're comedians, right? We're jaded when it comes to laughter, and even if I think something's funny, even if I watch a joke by you or a joke by, another comedian I respect.
No, when I laugh, it's an honest laugh.
When I laugh, it's an honest laugh, because most times when I'm laughing, I'm laughing, but I can't get the full way there because I'm like, shit, why didn't I think of that? Or damn, he's so much, we have this thing.
Or something's not funny.
Right, but with Richard Dreyfuss, I was truly, it actually broke kind of parts of my personality, and my wife was screaming at me. She was like, you're going to wake up the kids. And I was on the floor like Richard Dreyfuss was on the floor. And what I thought was amazing about it is your commitment to just keep talking to him no matter how low on this seat his head was.
Well, if people didn't see the episode, Richard Dreyfuss, who I have the greatest respect for as an actor.
I do too.
And an activist. Wait.
Is he an activist?
Before we stick this poker up his ass, let's give him a little flowers, okay, first? And it's true. I did a special with him in 1987, a young comedian, and he was at the height of his power as a movie star. So his passion was politics. I mean, I got to give him credit. He's not some celebrity who didn't do a lot of reading and thinking about stuff, and he wanted to do a special on the 200th anniversary of the Constitution, which was passed in 1787. That's really when we became a country. Now, no network executive is going to hear this pitch and say, what? What, are you going to dress up in fucking powdered wigs and reenact a signing? What could be duller than...
Yeah.
But he was a movie star.
Right.
And it was 1987. I guess TV, you can't even imagine, I'm sure. I can't even remember the kind of shit that was on. I mean, they just had lower standards because there was less competition.
Dude,
So-
when he was here and there was a part of the podcast where he's talking about his Puerto Rican 19-year-old girlfriend and introducing her to the Queen of England, and then you say, and how old were you? And I'm thinking he's going to say 22, 23. He goes, 37. I almost crashed my fucking car.
Well, what people remember about that also is that he had, I think, a back issue. And
Yeah, whatever, dude. It was great. I want to go in and ask my doctor for the Richard Dreyfuss.
And he was, look, we all need to make ourselves be in the feeling no pain mode sometimes. I know I do. And so he just was, sliding in the chair.
No, but Bill, what was
There was
genius
a
is...
time where your knee is was where his head was.
It was.
I just want to show that to
Yes.
people, or if you're listening, imagine
Yes.
where
This is Richard
Chris's
Dreyfuss's head.
knee is.
Yes.
But he wasn't out of the chair.
No.
That I would have put a stop to.
Yes. No.
But he picked himself up. It was like a metaphor for life. He kept drooling and melting down into the floor, as we all do.
Yes.
And then would pick himself up. I see it as a triumphant piece.
I said, I'm looking, my girlfriend's Puerto Rican, and I'm showing her, because she's yelling at me and waking the kids, and I'm showing her, I said, Jazz, look at this. And she's watching, and she doesn't get it. I said, Jazz, how funny is this? She was like, there's something wrong with him. I was like, yeah, that's the point of it. I was like, don't you see the genius? Bill is Bill is maintaining eye contact with him no matter how low he goes. I was like, don't you think that's great? And she was like, just go to sleep. She was a hater.
Yeah, some people don't like performance art.
Yeah, she didn't get it. But
Right, and that's fine. And,
do you have, let me ask you this. I want to ask you this as a guy who's made it as, there's no really objective measure in this. To me, as a fellow comic, I look up to him like, Bill's made it as far as you can possibly make it. He's at that top. Do you get a lot of grief or any problems from family members or friends from certain things you've said throughout your life, like ruined friendships? Or have you ever felt like, I'm doing well, but I also feel like a pariah in a way to my family, like my family does not like this at all?
No, of course. This, I started in the clubs in 1979. It was a different comedy world. I mean, the world of family wasn't that different because I was just fortunate. I had two parents who, they were they let me have that space. Like the period we're talking about is like when college is ending. And it's like, okay, so, we all knew you were going to go to college. That was sort of like de rigueur. So I did. And
Cornell.
Yeah,
Big
and
time
I'm
school.
glad I did. Okay. But then, it comes like your last year. And to their credit, they didn't like, what are you going to do? It's like, he'll tell us. And I just, literally didn't really say anything except I'm moving in, trying to get an apartment in New York. And I did get a rent-free situation where you have to do some unspeakable thing for for the price of, for the pleasure of staying in something that was about as big as this area we're sitting in. But, fuck. What were we talking about?
Well, I was saying because I was wondering, because now comedy, right? Like I'm pursuing what I love in this, right? I was a physical therapist before I had this, you have to get,
Really?
Yeah, you have to get a doctorate degree to become a physical therapist, went to school.
You're an MD?
Doctor of Physical Therapy, DPT. So I have a clinical doctorate.
Gym teacher?
Jim, exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly. Yes. Yes.
Thank you.
Yes. I work at the Planet Fitness up the street. So, but
Is that a real place?
Yes.
What is it?
Planet Fitness. Yeah, they give pizza to everyone walking in and out of the gym on
No.
Fridays. I swear to God, because the people look like planets. So I went through school, did all this, made my mother proud, right?
Right.
And then I pursue comedy, right?
Right.
And in the beginning, I'm doing comedy. I get on all these things, Letterman and all that stuff. And now I'm at the place where comedy's really going, well for me.
Fantastically well.
But I feel like my family, with the exception of my father,
Oh.
I feel like my family almost presents me like I'm like a porn star, like because I curse a little bit.
Really?
Yeah, so I was wondering if that was like a similar thing amongst all comics, or does my family just fucked?
Your family's a bunch of dicks. Well, of course that's
Told you,
not
Mom.
My parents gave me that space to like come to them. So I was well out of college and had moved into that horrible apartment, not apartment, like cubbyhole in someone else, in a rich person's apartment. And like, it was only, I think, maybe at Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm out of college, and I graduated early, so I'm out of college almost a whole year. And they just really, because I didn't ask for money, and I just kind of like, dribbled it out one night, like, yeah, I'm working at the comedy clubs, just like.
Right.
And they were kind enough, they must have been like suspecting that, or I don't know, maybe not, but, they just let me have the humiliation that is that first year or two of comedy is nothing but humiliation of every sort. Like you can't even get on stage. When you do, you suck. People think you're just, it's almost embarrassing that you're trying.
Yeah. Well, I think too, when you were coming up, you only had like the medium was stand-up. You weren't filming everything you were doing and talking for hours.
Right.
So a lot of times I'll say something going into a bit or have a half-baked idea on a podcast, and I'll tell a story, with changing names that like a family member was involved in that I think is funny, and then they get upset. But then on the same token, they like want tickets to the shows. So I'm like, sometimes I'm conflicted. Like I was getting screamed at on Thanksgiving by my family, screamed at for how awful my comedy is.
The assholes out there who have nothing better to do, the perfect people who never do anything wrong, they live to see things that they can make into something.
But you're a good man, Bill. You are really a good man.
Oh, well, thank you.
You do have founding father energy, too. Anyone ever tell you that?
Founding father?
You do. You feel like I feel like if we were going to have founding fathers today, you'd be in the running for one of them. I would vote you for one of them.
You mean like to run the country, to like
found
like
the country? You would just be
like
somebody.
Start a new country.
The country would vote in. The country would vote in. You'd be like a John Adams type. George Washington would be, like Leah Thomas from The Penn Swimmer. You would.
The one I'm thinking.
Yeah, George Santos would be Alexander Hamilton.
Well,
you'd have, but I just feel I'm saying you're smart, and you're a guy. Here's a compliment
to
to
Don Rickles.
No, here's a guy. No, Bill. Here's a comment. Here's a comment from one of my friends. We call him the Worm. He's a real conspiracy theorist. He told me this. I swear to God, he told me this. Standing in your producer Chuck's from Middle Village, we were standing not far from Elliott Avenue, which is a big street in Middle Village, and I told him I was doing your show, and he said, "You know why I like Bill?" And he's being dead serious because of all the Hollywood stuff. Because you know why I like Bill? He looks like a guy that probably, I would say, almost 100% never fucked a kid.
Well, that's true.
There you go. So they're 99% sure you never did, and that means you're a good guy.
That's
because they think everyone in Hollywood's having sex with kids in these neighborhoods in New York.
Yeah. That's one I'll never understand. Why you'd even want to have sex with a kid.
I have kids. I don't want to have sex with any of their friends.
Right.
No.
That's the thing, is like you can, and this is a credit to the human race in this regard, you can put checks on yourself for barbaric behavior, which we're not on from the beginning of mankind's long crawl to civilization.
Right.
I mean, for most of our time, animals basically have sex by rape. They don't fucking go out to dinner first.
Dude, you go to the Sahara Desert, it's rape all day. All the animals are raping each other. There's no consent.
Exactly.
100%.
And humans were those animals until very recently. So it's to our credit that we went, no, you know what? Let's find a different way. We share an appetizer, something.
Yeah, you say it like that.
So, well, you say it like that. That's the Queen's version.
Yes.
We should do a show about the suburbs of New York.
We should.
Because, boy.
You ever come back?
It's of course.
Northeast?
I had a very sentimental journey. Funny you should ask. About a year ago, about November, so a little over a year ago, the house I grew up in, I visited that, hadn't been to that.
Right. Owned by Indian people now.
No.
No? In New Jersey?
No, a lovely couple.
Not Indian.
Not Indian.
Really?
No.
A lot of Indians in New Jersey love Indian people.
What?
I love Indian women. Chubby Indian women, that's my vice.
Really?
Love my girlfriend gets very upset when I talk about it, but yeah, my friends used to call me Chrissy Calcutta because of how much Indian woman porn
So
I
you have
watch.
a girlfriend and kids, but you're not married.
We're not married, but I think I should probably do it. It's
Well, when
serious enough now.
When you put it that way, who could resist? You know, I'd like to see you on one knee saying,
Yeah.
honey, I just think whatever you
I'm not
say.
going to get down on one. I'm going to get down like Richard Dreyfuss to propose.
Just the head.
Just the head.
Would she find that funny?
She
No.
probably would. I think she's just put up with me. I think she's just stuck with me now at this point. But I'm sorry, you were talking about your New Jersey house that's not owned by Indians.
I'm prying into your personal life.
You could pry all day. I don't mind. I'm an open book.
And you've had 2 kids. Well, that's a cementing, bonding sort of thing between 2 humans, I hear.
I would say it's relatively serious.
Isn't
at this
it?
point.
Right. I mean, that, that's why I never, took it past
Yes.
dating.
Yes.
I mean, I had serious girlfriends.
Right.
You know, but it's still dating.
Yeah.
You know, because in a woman's mind, you're either dating or you're...
Right.
If you're not married, you're what I call on the path.
Yes.
You know, which is like... Oh, they have steps of,
Yeah.
living together, pre-engagement, engagement. There's a whole thing. And I always pictured it like a canoe
Yes.
going down the river.
Yes.
And wanted to always get off before it gets to the falls.
Yes. Well, dude, I would tell you.
But that's me. Other people love it. Other people love going over.
I would say to you, there's a great joke by comedian Ted Alexandro. He had a joke paraphrasing. He was like, I'm 45 years old. I have no wife, no kids. I made it. You made it, sir. You've made it.
Oh, thanks.
You're no wife, no kids. You have made it, sir. You're successful, and this is why you have my vote as founding father.
Thank you so much
No,
for
sir,
saying that,
it's a
Chris,
beautiful-
because, I think that all the time.
It's
but
a beautiful honor.
I can't really say it out loud, but honestly,
You've made
when I hear every single person I know bitch about either their marriage or their divorce or whatever, I just think, yeah, I made a lot of mistakes, really a lot of stupid things I did in this life. I mean, I am not a quick learner, but I do get it when I get it, but I'll admit that. But that one,
Yes.
oh, which one we were talking about?
No, I'm saying you look at how beautiful your life is.
Oh, that one of
Yeah.
not marrying or having kids. The fact that I was able to do that, yes, because I would be miserable.
Look at your life, how beautiful you have. You have this beautiful property you live on. If you had married a kid, I mean, you'd be living on top of a fucking Subarus right now. She would have taken everything.
Let's face it, after a night of drinking, the body just doesn't bounce back the way it used to. Now, unless you are made of some sort of alcohol-resistant steel, you have a choice to make. Either have a great night or a great next day. That is until I tell you about Zbiotics. If you're committed to a healthy routine this year, you need Zbiotics. Zbiotics Pre-Alcohol Probiotic is the world's first genetically engineered probiotic. It was invented by PhD scientists to tackle rough mornings after drinking. If there's anybody who ties one on, it's PhD scientists. These wild men told me that when you drink, alcohol gets converted into a toxic byproduct in the gut. It's this byproduct, not dehydration, that's to blame for your rough next day. And Zbiotics produces an enzyme to break this byproduct down. Just remember to drink Zbiotics before drinking alcohol, drink responsibly, and get a good night's sleep to feel your best tomorrow. Have a Zbiotics before drinking. It makes such a difference the next day. Go to zbiotics.com/random to get 15% off your first order when you use random at checkout. You can also sign up for a subscription using my code so you can stay prepared no matter the time or occasion. Zbiotics is backed with a 100% money-back guarantee, so if you're unsatisfied for any reason, they'll refund your money, no questions asked. Remember to head to zbiotics.com/random and use the code RANDOM at checkout for 15% off. Thank you, Zbiotics, for sponsoring this episode. Club Random is brought to you by the audio marketing gurus at Radioactive Media. It's finally 2024, so the big question is, what are you going to do to make your business boom this year? Give your business the winning edge by embracing new mediums to drive up sales and acquire customers by partnering with shows like mine. You can enjoy lower CPMs, elevating your brand in a space away from your competition. Generate up to 9 times more leads by combining the power of audio and video channels with text messaging and generate an ROI as high as 5, 6, or 7 to 1. The best way to achieve these goals is through the team at Radioactive Media. Club Random has been partnering with Radioactive Media since the beginning, and they can create a customizable campaign for your company's needs. Use your intelligence and start planning early for 2024. Radioactive Media has an exclusive deal to promote your product or service on Club Random with me and save up to 50%. To find out all the details and receive a few Club Random goodies thrown in, go to radioactivemedia.com or text the word RANDOM to 511-511. Whether you have a nationwide business-to-business product or service or an incredible consumer product, these guys will take you to higher highs in 2024. Discover how audio marketing can surpass your current strategies with new and innovative ways that sound better. Go to radioactivemedia.com or text RANDOM to 511-511. Text RANDOM to 511-511 today to save up to 50% in 2024. Terms, conditions, message, and data rates may apply. You ever live in Manhattan?
Yes, Lower East Side.
Okay. So I moved to New York, grew up in Bergen County, New Jersey.
Sure.
I'm sure you're familiar.
Of course.
Rivervale was my little town. It was just leave it to Beaverville.
Of course.
It was ridiculous. And I was
100%.
mid-century,
Yes.
This is 60s, 70s. Very innocent. No racism because there's only one race in town.
Of course.
No drugs, just leave it to Beaver. My father worked in New York in radio every day, commuted there, right? So then I go off to college, and I knew I was going to be a comedian when I was 10.
Wow.
So I was always thinking about this. So I'm in college, and I'm like, all the time I'm in college, I'm like, what am I doing here? This is theoretical. I'm not trying to get a job with this. I should be doing what I do. And I once even went up at the poetry reading and tried to do some material just because I was, chomping at the bit to get my.
course.
So I lived in New York. That moved in with the rent-free hovel, and then I had another hovel on 8th Avenue.
Oh, shit.
That was my main apartment.
Yeah.
I had one apartment in the edge of Spanish Harlem, 99th Street,
Right.
between a 5-floor walk up, no shower.
Oof.
Okay. Then I had my.
Where did you shower?
There was a tub in the kitchen. You put one of those.
Shit.
I love that. I love that I lived through that, though.
It's beautiful.
It really is.
Yep.
It's so good to have had that.
Yeah. Yeah.
It really helps you enjoy when things are easy.
Yeah. Yeah. And you work through all that. There was, it was like the pain and the gain kind of thing.
Yeah. So then I had my main apartment was 8th Avenue between 55th and 56th.
Oh, nice.
So not a terrible neighborhood. It's a little north of Hell's Kitchen,
Right.
but 3 blocks from the park.
Right.
It was a nondescript kind of, once in a while there was a bum
Right.
passed out in the foyer,
It's New York.
sometimes with a neadle in their leg.
Yes.
You just,
It happens.
You're
having fun.
what are you
What are you going to do? You're in New York.
what are you going to do about that? I guess I would call the super.
Yes, yes.
And of course,
Yes.
he filled me with confidence.
Yeah.
He would get on it right away.
Yeah, he'd come out in a wife beater with chancletas on and just fucking kick him into the street. That's what you do.
Do you remember Freddy Prinze, who that was?
Sure. Well, I know Freddy Prinze Jr.,
But his father.
His father, I just know from the TV shows and stuff.
So you do know.
Vaguely. I know more Freddie Prinze Jr. from She's All That.
But
That's who I used to
I
jerk
was
off
in
to.
my prime, I want to be a comedian adolescence when Freddie Prinze was broke. And he was it was very different to have first of all, Puerto Rican.
Sure.
That was the liberals were all clapping themselves on the back.
Yeah.
We've got a funny young man, and the fact that he's from Puerto Rico doesn't make me like him any less.
Right.
Just very, woo, we got... And, of course, that was tragic. He killed himself.
Right.
I think it was a mistake. I think he was so zonked out. he was depressed and zonked out, and just
Right.
you can be so fucked up you don't really know what you're doing, or you.
Right.
And he could have had a. But when I was starting out, that was a sensation that he went on the Tonight Show, so different, and his big catchphrase was, to the point here, the super. And the super was always saying, "It's not my job." That was his catchphrase.
Yes,
it would come back in his act. It would
Yeah.
what do you call it? Callback.
Callbacks, yeah.
That was his. It's not my job.
It's not my job. Now, let's talk about, because we've been trying to get to it for 20 minutes, what the hell with this couple with the house in New Jersey? You went back, you said it was a sentimental story.
It was. Well, I mean, that's the house I grew up in.
Right.
Okay, so.
And by the way, what would you do if you found out Freddie Prinze Jr. killed himself after you read your 10-year-old poem?
Okay, so I go back to, so I have two friends from young childhood. One was my neighbor, and his parents still live there, as they did when I lived there.
Is your friend still with us, or is he no
yes,
longer with
he's
us?
with us. I mean, they're still with us. They're in their 90s.
Wow, they're still with us.
Yes, and
They must be boosted.
What? What do you mean?
Vaccine.
What? Oh, the vaccine.
The double booster.
Yeah, let's not get to that.
No. I don't care about the vaccine at all.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Okay. I guess I don't want to argue.
I don't care.
Okay.
The doctor told me I've had chlamydia enough.
Right.
I'm good.
So, but yeah, so he's a little younger than me, but basically my age. We grew up together.
What is he doing now?
He's a drummer.
Oh, it's good.
Drums and Broadway shows. Yeah,
Beautiful.
He's a very creative guy.
Both two creatives, and there's two creative neighbors. What are the chances?
Yeah. Yeah, and my family and their family were very close.
Right.
It was great. When they moved in, before that, there was a cop who beat his wife. My mother had to
What are you going to do, not beat your wife?
My mother had to help her move. I remember that.
It's horrible, but that's what the cops do. That's what you want to be the cops.
Yeah,
It's horrific. I'm not promoting, but it's like, you guys, if a guy's hitting his girlfriend in high school, this is who we get for the cops.
That's who we get. That's not who we want.
It's not who we want, but it's like, you know what I mean? What do you want? You want fucking anarchy like you have now? Get the cops out there, start throwing some shit around a little bit.
I feel like I'm in the role of the ventriloquist who has to tell, ladies and gentlemen, don't mind my dummy stupido and the stupid things he
My
says.
goal for this podcast is to have Chuck cut more shit from my episode than the Richard Dreyfuss one.
No, we ain't cutting shit.
No, don't cut it out. I don't care at all.
No. That's the great thing about a podcast. Look, I mean, none of us can or should say anything, but I feel like
It's all joking.
there is a difference in the medium. Real time is just a different animal.
Sure.
It's the one I love the most.
Sure.
It's my real baby. But there is a difference in what you can sort of like just brain fart away. That's not a brain fart kind of show. Whereas this is. I mean, I think we know.
Well,
it's wall-to-wall brain.
Yeah, that's why, I know you've had him on the show, and I'm good friends with Jimmy Kimmel,
Yes.
And when I talk to him and hang out with him, we're fucking dying laughing, talking about funny shit, but then on the TV show, you have to stay a bit in a box. I get it, it's a produced thing, but that's why with you, it's so awesome to just cut it loose, because this is like what real comedy is.
Yeah, and also I wanted to do this because most people are not political.
Yeah.
Like, this is great talking to you. I'm having a blast.
I couldn't care what your political views were.
But you wouldn't be right for real time.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Because I don't have a background in politics.
Well, I mean, we could talk at the, you don't really have an issue. Like that would be the top of the show
What the fuck
interview.
is that? I'm not right for real time. What the fuck is that about?
Well, you know what I mean?
Can't get on real time now?
Because you said you're not political.
Yeah, but so what? I'll come on the show, throw it around a little bit.
Yeah, that could work too.
It could work. Why not? Do a little bit.
I mean, that's what my old show was. Did you ever see that show, Politically Incorrect?
Of course, dude. Everybody watched your shit.
Okay, so that was where you mixed the experts in with the with the.
Why not bring that back? Have a night where you bring in a fucking idiot, and that's me.
Well,
have me start talking to fucking one of these presidential candidates and about the real issues.
When Bill Burr was on,
he's the best.
When he was on the show, at one point he goes, "I feel like I'm in high school and I didn't study for the test."
Yeah.
It was, and I don't try to do that, but it's just a show. It's a different show for a specific audience. that, that's their interest.
I'll get on Real Time one day. One day we'll do
Look.
it. We'll develop a relationship and then we'll see what happens.
That is such a mature attitude. I'm not sure I would have had that attitude at your age.
We'll do
That's
it,
the
bro.
exact right attitude, right? Which is like, let things evolve organically. They will. And
Let
you're,
it just
and you're
happen.
totally right about that.
That's it. Control all I can do, Bill,
Right.
you ready for this? Control the output, not
Yes.
the outcome. I'm all about my effort. What the results? I don't know. I'll just try to give you the best I can and we'll see what happens.
Well, it's going great for you. I mean, easy for you to say that. You're like selling out Radio City and shit. That's like not a big thing.
Well, you know
hey,
what?
whatever happens, whether I sell 20,000 or 22,000, I'll just accept it.
The good thing about where I'm at.
You're very fortunate that you
Thank
were
you.
born. I mean, you worked, yes, but same as me. Like, there is a part of comedy you just have to be born with.
Yeah.
You can't just want to be a comedian. There are people who do, and then shysters will open schools
Always.
of comedy,
Yeah.
and you cannot teach the bottom line of it.
Right.
You just can't.
Well, it's good too because comedy keeps you humble and there's a humility. I think like a lot about life. I want my daughters to know, like, you got to keep humility and a likability about you. Life just does that sometimes. Like the same week, September 22nd and September 23rd of last year, I did Radio City one night and Theater at MSG the next night. So that's 11,000 tickets I sold, right?
Huge.
So it's great. Then the very next weekend, I do a show in Vegas. I sold 400 seats out of 2,000. So right away, it's just a nice fuck you where it's like, hey, level,
Sure.
don't think who you are. And
Right.
it's always like keeping me grounded, you know?
Yeah. Right. No, that's exactly what it is. And
But how do you stay grounded? Because-
your agent should have known that.
Yes, he does. He did.
It's okay.
But how do you, honestly, this is an honest question because, it's like, not giving away info, but it's like you're obviously doing very well. You've worked hard for it. You've created the success. I can stay grounded because yes, I'm doing well in some instances, but I'm not a household name as you've become. How do you stay grounded, which is the most important part of comedy, is being relatable to the common man? How do you do that at such a high level?
I mean,
It's an honest question from my seat,
really?
from the Dreyfuss chair.
I mean,
Because you're humble and you don't, and you don't know.
You're exalting. You're making a issue out of something that's actually a non-issue. I believe you're sincere, but like you're making me too exalted to have this be a problem. There are show business lives that are so exalted, mostly musicians.
Right.
People just go fucking ape bananas for musicians and
Sure.
music. It reaches you on a primal level. And nobody else can really compete. I mean, yes, a handsome movie star, a beautiful movie star, but not even that, quite as much
Right.
as music. I mean, they go apeshit for rock stars and stuff.
Right.
Like, on that level, this question is relevant. But, I was in Whole Foods the other day. It was not a problem.
No. But no, I understand. But I guess like my point is like writing stand-up material specifically. Elton John or Steven Tyler can write a song about living the life and people love it. Bruce Springsteen, but you can't write a bit about kind of how successful you've been. You have to be relatable to the common man, which you've done a great job of being relatable to the common man despite having immense success, which some other comics, some of your contemporaries, when I watch their latest specials, I'm saying, I like your old stuff better because now you're coming out to pyrotechnics and you're talking about your helicopter, and the guy who just spent, $150 to come see you with his wife is like, I don't relate to this guy. But yet you stayed relatable. So you've had to be cognizant of that.
I mean, there are different levels. People have different ways of marking success. I mean, yes, influence can be success, and money can be success, and numbers can be success. You have huge PA numbers.
Right. In certain
I
markets.
don't play those arenas.
But in certain markets.
Okay, right.
Yeah.
Exactly. But I'm saying,
The original 13, that's where I sell.
we're back to that. What are you?
I'm Colonial Chrissy.
I was just going to say, are you advocating for some sort of retrenchment? Where
I come out to the national anthem holding a bayonet.
we return to the good old days of 1787? I mean, yeah.
No, but I don't. It was just a kind of inquisitive
No,
question on my part, because it's just, as someone, a peer of yours, but also looking up to you, I'm like, how do you do that? If I ever got to your level, I wonder, how I would react to certain things.
Well, you're already past me on one level.
How?
How many did you sell it to?
But that's one market in New York City.
Okay, but I'm just saying it takes many forms. So, I don't know, and there's so many things that go into. Some people think there's just a giant success if they are doing something that they love.
Right.
Other people think success is just always working. There's lots of show people like that. They will, game shows,
Sure.
just whatever. Like
Yeah.
they will. Not that game shows are bad or something to,
Yeah.
to look.
Yeah.
I'm not saying
Yeah.
that at all.
Yeah.
But it's just, or even reality shows.
Sure.
It's just like that to them is success. Is I work in this business.
Right. Right. Okay. I
And
see what
then
you
some
mean. I see what
people,
you're
it's
getting at.
just like their success is my peers respect me.
Right.
When the players vote, I'm on the all-star team. That's a type of success.
Yes.
There's many, and then sometimes just like I'm living baller lifestyle. I got a jet, and I got bling, and I got houses and tigers.
Well, I could tell you
Tanks
that
of-
I don't want to be presumptuous here, but I do feel like I really like you, and I feel like we'll hang again. I'd like to hang with you.
I can almost guarantee it.
Yeah, I feel like
You're the one who I bet you would be hard to get together with because you have a wife and kids. I mean, we're all busy in our careers.
Sure. No, but I would come. I would just come. I would come hang with you. But I would have
Can I
to
ask
bring
you a very
25.
personal question? You said no limits, right?
No limits, dude. You ask
All
me
right.
whatever you want.
So honestly, truth or dare, honestly, if you want to do something, just say anything. But let's say this, like, go hang out with Bill Maher on a fucking bender for 2 days.
Yes.
In L.A. You have to run everything by your wife, or can you just like say, "I'm doing it," and it's not up for.
I absolutely have zero free will, and she 100% rules my life. And Bill, make no mistake, if we become friends after this, you will get a text from my wife saying, "Hey, Bill, this is Jasmine. Can't wait to hang out with you."
Oh,
I can't. If I ever came
so
here,
you're gonna give her my number,
dude, if I ever came in here, you would think I was coming with a caravan of Puerto Rican people. I would come in here rolling 40 Puerto Ricans deep, and your liberal ass would have to say, "Open the door, let them in." So,
because she has many relatives.
Bill, let me tell you something. I'm going to get home in about 2-3 days from now. I'm going to walk into my house. There will be 3 Puerto Rican people I don't know in the house that are family members. It's a beautiful part of the Puerto Rican culture, which I love very much, but it is honest. There are always multiple family members coming to my house. I have a
Really?
big house. They come and they hang. I have no problem
What town
with it.
is your house? You're in Queens?
We were in we were in Staten Island, but then we moved to Queens. But now I'm thinking about moving back to Staten Island.
You lost a bet?
No, I fucked up, dude. No, I fucked it. Self-sabotage is a real thing. I don't know if you're a self-sabotager.
Oh, I am not, but I've seen it. I saw it in comics I started with. I guess I could say this about him now because I dearly love him, and he just died, Richard Belzer. And
One of the
and
best hosts of all time. I heard he was the comedy, people talk in New York about he was the host of Catch a Rising Star and the best guy.
We called it MC.
MC, sorry, yeah. MC,
Yes.
yeah.
Well, it's funny. I started just when he was like sort of peaking at Catch a Rising Star. He was like the big star waiting to break out to a new.
Right.
So he kind of took me under his wing, like I was. So like when he had MC duties, which he was doing just because they paid you $50 to do it.
Sure.
He was over it. And he didn't want to do it. So
Right.
he didn't want to show up at 9 o'clock to start the show. So I covered for him, and he took the money.
As the MC. You took
Yes,
over-
because
wow.
it was his night.
Right.
And he'd show up in the middle of the night and do an hour or two, and then I would, he'd also leave and I'd do the end. So the place was run loosely like that.
Right.
So it was good for both of us.
Right.
But I loved him dearly.
Yeah.
And,
Self-sabotage.
self-sabotage, yes. there were some times, I mean, he was sort of like touted to be, he was going to be like the next biggest, like Richard Pryor level. They
Wow.
compared him to Pryor, and he hung around with people like Pryor.
So cool.
Chevy Chase, Robin Williams, Christopher Reeve, there was a little gang there in New York, and they treated him as a peer,
Right.
just based on this little 200-seat nightclub where it was the hip club, Catch a Rising Star, owned by the mob,
Sure.
was the rumor.
Right.
Was the rumor. Rick Newman, the owner,
Where was that geographically? Was that also
1st Avenue between 77th and 78th.
Wow. It's now a city MD.
Oh, I don't want to even think.
It's a Dwayne Reed.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's something horrible.
Yeah.
It was great. But Richard Belzer did, I think, he could have had, I mean, he became famous from the detective shows,
Sure.
much more than what he really was a genius at. And I'm telling you, in that club, he was a kind of genius because he was everything. He was kind of Don Rickles. He had that. He would talk to the audience and was like just hysterical and mean, but like never seemed to like, get beat up over it and go through women's purses in the
Yes.
front row. And he had bits. The thing was, he never once wrote one word down. So, he couldn't do like 2 shows because he wouldn't remember what he did from the first show.
Right.
So he had these bits that were recurring. One of my favorite was like, he would just like, he'd be talking about one thing and riffing, and he'd be like, and he had a band behind him. The house band always played for Belzer and nobody else. That's why we knew he was the king. So the stage was this big, and somehow they fit a piano and a bass and a drummer up there.
Right.
So he would be like, one of his bits, why do all singers give you this move? Everything will be okay as soon as I get my neck fixed.
That's such a silly bit.
It was so great.
But he would self-sabotage, you're saying?
Yes, he would just he had a couple of big ones I think he didn't show up for, that kind of thing, like a big level. There was some gig, like maybe it was the Schaefer Music Festival or something. It was a big gig.
And he didn't
But
show up.
He was not, yes, I think he probably, I don't know. I mean, that was a long time ago, and I hope I'm
Fear
not.
of success, maybe?
I felt like that was something, I mean, he was a complicated guy.
Right.
And
As most comics are.
but a beautiful guy. I mean, he was so warm
Right.
and brotherly to me. I was 24, 23 when I got there. He was 35. To me, that was like James Bond.
Of course.
And he was cool. He wore black, and Rick Newman, the owner, wore black. And Mark Krantz, he was another hip, cool guy who wore black. He ran the club, and they'd all like go out like a little pack. And I'd be, can I come? No, fucking dweeb from the suburbs from New Jersey.
Go back to New Jersey.
Yeah, your first year in comedy. Where do you get on the stage once?
Yes.
So I was not even in that world, but slowly, I wormed my way into their hearts. We are all comics, and you can try to be charming in your way. So Belzer was just, I mean, he was something else. He was just, and just would blow you away sometimes with the talent on stage in that setting. But it was just not the kind of thing like moving a baby bird that falls out of the sky that you can transplant.
Right. Like, because for somebody, again, like me, comedy fan and all that, like, you stretch all the way back to like the Johnny Carson days. So like you now sitting here, a bit older, more established, do you look back at those Johnny Carson times being like, I cannot believe like I did Johnny Carson type, because I did David Letterman. And for me, even though I loved and I was so appreciative of doing it, for me, it's like, oh, okay, I just did David Letterman. Like I care and I'm appreciative, but I'm like, whatever. Sometimes people be like, oh, you did Letterman? But is Carson different? Is it like, was Carson a different thing?
It was Carson was the biggest king late night ever had as far as like the era. There was like 3 channels. So, he would draw, there was, I think his top year, he routinely, this is like nightly, drew 17 million people.
Jesus.
Yes, because there was nothing else to do. There was no video games, there was no fucking phones, there wasn't TikTok and a million distractions, there weren't 800 networks. There was Johnny or whoever was the sacrificial lamb against them on the other network. And Channel 7 had news or some shit.
So
I mean,
you felt it the night you did it. The next night you felt your career.
no.
It was just another. It was
No.
nothing changed.
Something changed psychologically, but it wasn't like, the next day I'm riding the subway and everybody's like, hey.
You're the Carson guy.
There was an era where that happened, but you had to do it like David Brenner was kind of the last guy to become a big comedic star just from The Tonight Show. He never had a sitcom,
Right. Yeah, because what's fascinating to me is, like you mentioned earlier on in the show, and this is just the same with history as it goes. I love history. It's like, you had said, like, in the 70s, people were like, ooh, a Freddy Prinze, a Puerto Rican, like trying to kind of shoehorn diversity in no matter what and be like, look at us, we're heroes because we're, promoting diversity. And I would think, oh, that just started when I started comedy, but that's been around for 40 years, just as, 2,000 years ago, they were having similar problems to we're having today, but it's just they're wearing different uniforms and have different haircuts and different countries are in power. It's all the same.
2,000 years ago, some of it's the same. A lot of it is not.
Well, if you listen to like Marcus Aurelius and you read some of that Stoicism stuff, they're talking about the same bullshit back then as we are today.
Well, yes, most of all those ideas, that's true. Like basic philosophical ideas were probably all thought of like before the time of Christ. And then later on, people added on little things or they argued about them. A lot of it is people in later centuries arguing about what they wrote.
Right.
And, what did Plato mean? And some of it is just plain outdated.
Right.
Some of it is, even Plato and Aristotle and Socrates, they just, people didn't have certainly didn't have the idea that women were equal.
No.
For a very long time.
They still don't in Middle Village, where Chuck is from.
They still don't in a lot of places around the world.
Yes.
But in America, that's one of my issues with wokeness is like, you're not better than me just because you always think things are worse.
Right.
You actually don't have a good perspective on where on the scale.
Right.
Are things perfect? No, and they never will be.
No.
But really, compared to the rest of the world and compared to what we were 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years ago, it's like night and day. I lived through it.
If anybody from 100 years ago, no matter what race or religion you were, came alive today, they would be in tears about how great the world has become and how much different things are and how much better things are.
Right.
So sometimes I'm like, when I hear people complaining and yelling about our country, I'm like, I heard a guy, I was at a comedy club and, I was doing a bit about diversity or whatever. And the guy was like, America's the least diverse place in the world. I said, where are you from? He said, Sweden. I said, Sweden? It's all fucking white people. You have zero diversity in that country. What are you talking about?
Actually, that bit is outdated, I hate to tell you.
Why?
Because Sweden allowed a substantial number of Syrians.
Oh, that's right.
And Afghanistan folks from those two wars, and it's not.
So now it's 99.8% white.
Say it's, and it's not gone all that smoothly.
Yes, not great.
As far as like this is amazing. The Syrians.
Want some ice, Bill?
Is it free?
It's free ice. You're not drinking any tequila. I'm the only one drinking tequila.
Yeah.
I don't even know how to light this thing. I'm not good with lighters. Can you light it for me?
Yeah.
Thank you, Bill.
I
got weird thumbs. Look at that. The thumbs. I don't know how to fucking light shit. What is that? Is that the Ridge wallet? What is that?
That is a cigarette case. What? I feel like it's so sophisticated, and yet it cost $8 on Amazon.
That's it. Amazon's the key.
Let me tell you.
I'd like to fucking suck off Jeff Bezos. Who wouldn't, right? You ever meet him?
This is
Jeffy B?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
He's probably a fan of you. I bet you Bezos is a fan of you.
He texts me from time to time when...
Jeffy B, he's a good man.
I mean, I've seen him only...
For the right price, I'll fucking promote Alibaba all day, though.
Am
I sucking on this side?
Yeah.
There it is.
Yeah. You do know the basics of you light one side and suck one side. That hasn't changed.
I was a basketball player, so I would get drug tested. I didn't want to let my father down. My father was a guy. My father's a good man. He used to come from Staten Island, ready for this, take a ferry, 2 buses to come see me where I live with my mother in Ridgewood. And then he didn't have a job. And he wanted me to make the NBA, even though I was a scrawny white kid with psoriasis. He want me to make the NBA. We would shoot 1,000 jump shots a day. 1,000 jump shots a day. And my father, with his 2 bum knees, would go get the rebounds at Farmers Oval Park in Ridgewood. And he had a broom that he would hold up to mimic like 7-foot, NBA-sized guys. So my father, he was very kind of, want you to play basketball. He wanted to play for the New York Yankees. Didn't make it, of course. And he wanted me to play ball. So I would never did drugs.
What's the highest you ever got in?
I was a Division III, so the third division, but I was an All-American. So one of the top 10
in college.
In college. So I played, in my neighborhood, I was the kid that played ball.
Right.
So much to the point where my friends from the neighborhood would come see me do comedy. They were like, "You don't talk about playing basketball. That's what we knew you as the athlete."
I'm sure you're a really, really good. I mean, I have a court here. I play every day.
Let's play.
But I'm sure you're real. Yeah, I would.
Yeah.
I'm sure you're really good, and it's the kind of the way sometimes you see somebody singing like in a restaurant, and they're like, "Wow, this band is awesome,"
Right.
And they're in a restaurant. In the same way, you can be like such an amazingly good athlete
Right.
and still not good enough
Right.
to play on the professional level.
Right.
So you broke your father's heart, you fucking prick.
I'm a piece of shit. And instead I went into comedy, which to him is an art form, so I might as well have just been blowing the microphone. So
Really, he thinks show business is gay? That is really old school.
he did, but he's come around now.
He's
I'll tell you
not
what,
first generation, is he?
No. He's been here. Second, third generation.
Yeah. But from Italy.
He's first generation Rikers Island. And
Rikers Island.
so
yeah.
he's it's great to have a parent, at least, I get it. One thing I learned about embarking on this career is the people who are the closest to you, who love you the most, are going to probably be the least confident in you because they are so worried about you not making it and they just want what's best for you.
Okay, but now you did make it.
But I'm saying I don't disparage my mother or my family for in the beginning trying to talk me out of it.
Right.
Because they were just worried. They wanted what's best for me. At that point, I was like mad, I was upset. But my father, from the beginning, was always like, "Chris, I have your back 100%. So I still to this day remember that. Like he was the guy sitting front row at the Maui Taco when I was doing open mics, for nobody and I was a loser. He was like, "I got your back," which I respect about him.
But that's why I made such a point about my parents.
Right.
And giving them their props.
They respected you.
Because it's not...
Give your space.
Your thing is the more usual story. Parents are usually like, "Come on, that's a pipe dream.
Yes.
How many people are going to..." Whereas my parents just let it happen. And they knew saying no. What are they going to say? First of all, I wasn't asking for money.
Right.
But they could have been like, "Oh, make something of your life. It goes quickly. You're going to wake up in 10 years and you..." No, they just let it play out. And I was on the Tonight Show 3.5 years later. That, to answer your question about the Tonight Show, what was great about the Tonight Show? To your family, now you're in show business.
Got it.
It's like, that was like your graduation ceremony.
Right.
So for that reason, it was, but it doesn't make you a star. It didn't in that era. You had to all the comics I started, we all wanted to get on a sitcom.
That's what it was.
That was it. It was everything was an audition for something else.
Right.
And doing the Tonight Show is an audition to get on a sitcom.
Right. Where now that's in my generation.
And that's exactly what happened.
Yeah. Now
it was the 80s was sitcoms and silly movies.
Yeah. Yeah. Now that's now it's like that does. I still want to do that stuff, but I know that it doesn't have the power it once was. But I don't want to do things to make money.
But do you want to act? Is that a...
Yeah.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
You should.
In my household,
everybody
loves Raymond, Ray Romano. That was the guy. That was everybody. From my neighborhood, there were 2 guys, Ray Romano and Colin Quinn. Everybody was like, Ray Romano sounds like us, Colin Quinn sounds like us. These were the guys.
I love Ray. I don't know him that well. Just had him on Real Time. Mm-hmm. And then
he made Real Time.
Well, he had him. He had, well, you know what?
Guy.
He resisted it all these years, and he's a huge, devoted watcher. But he was like, "I don't think I'm smart enough." But and he's of course plenty smart enough. So are you.
Yeah.
If you're not interested in a
Why don't I come on and just start massaging the guests? I have a doctorate degree in physical therapy. How about that? What about if that's the bit? I start fucking stretching out Candace Owens.
Listen, we're gonna do a gym teacher theme show.
Do it.
We've got who's the Jim Jordan?
Yeah.
We've got Dennis Haster.
Yeah.
We've got some of the Olympic coaches
Yeah.
who went to prison.
Yeah.
Just gym teachers.
I'll come in there. I'll give fucking Marco Rubio a fucking tune-up.
But who was I just saying? Oh, Ray Romano. Love him.
Great Ray Romano.
And
Legend.
he had a movie. I just saw it. I liked it a lot.
He filmed it in the neighborhood, Queens.
But you know it's about the kid who's a basketball player.
Yes, his sons.
It's very similar to your story.
He's a guy. See, this is. I learned a valuable lesson. I learned a valuable lesson through failure. Failure. I think I have children, so I want my kid. As much as a parent, you want to protect them. I know that failure is good for them. The biggest failure I ever had is I had a sitcom pilot, CBS sitcom pilot. 2016, we filmed the whole thing. Les Moonves was calling me personally on the phone, telling me I'm going to be the next guy. They introduced me to Kevin James. They introduced me to Ray Romano. They said, this is CBS royalty. This is where your show's going to go. Chaz Palminteri playing my father. Annie Potts playing my mother. Diane Guerrero playing my wife. It was like we were like, we're coming out strong. I had sold the show in the room to CBS, NBC, ABC, buying it in the room. I'm with the guys who created How I Met Your Mother, CBS royalty. I'm like, holy shit, this is going to happen. So we're going.
What was the show about?
The show was about my life. My life is with my girlfriend, Jasmine. We, very quickly, the second, third date, she conceived our daughter, our daughter, my 8-year-old. Yeah, right away. We met at this bar called Place to Beach. I met her. I could not pull out. There's no way you could pull out. She's so beautiful that I was just like, bang, cannot happen. She said, Papi, I let it fly.
Right.
And I don't wear condoms.
I see.
How could you?
Well, again, kids, my dummy tonight is
my dummy.
Now apologize to the
dummy.
Apologize to the nice people.
Listen, if you're having sex with a condom, are you really having sex? Come on. As we all are. As I said, but
I was just gonna say, you go there with that gross shit.
Too much, right? This is why my family is not proud of me.
I've always.
Are you on my mother's side now?
I've always been squeamish about shit and fart jokes.
That's the last dirty joke I'll make. I apologize, Bill.
Lots of stuff doesn't bother me, but yeah.
They're done. That's the last one.
That's my one issue with Family Guy, and Seth and I have talked about it many times. He loves shit and fart jokes. And I hate to see a pile of shit and they think it's hysterical.
Seth MacFarlane to me is one of the Seth MacFarlane and the guys who created South Park, those two guys are such comedy geniuses that they don't even get nominated for awards anymore because it's just like everybody else but those two because they're just head and shoulders above everybody.
But that's always a dangerous thing to do.
What do you think?
When you name two people in the same, I've had that happen to me. I just read a funny thing David Mamet said about it in one of his books, and he was like, whenever somebody comes up to me and says, I love what you're doing, you're just the best, and then they mention another person.
Right.
And he said, and it's always someone who I just fucking hate.
You think Seth MacFarlane doesn't like Trey Parker and Matt Stone?
I have no idea, but I'm just saying.
They're so similar.
Again, I've had it happen to me, and I've thought ill of it because
no, Bill. But
I love Captain. What is
Kangaroo?
No, what is it?
Captain America.
Team America.
Team America.
Team America.
Everybody has AIDS.
Oh, Team America World Police.
Yes.
Is one of the all-time
amazing
greatest movies. Hysterical. I'm amazed it still gets shown. It still comes on.
It's amazing.
Because it's very politically incorrect.
Yes.
So I give them all that credit. I never really got into the show, not because, and mostly because I haven't given it a chance.
Right.
Because I was friends with Seth from way back.
Yes.
And I was like, no, I'm Team Family Guy. And so let's just say I saved it. Someday, because people do oftentimes say you would like South Park, and I'm sure I would because I loved Team America.
It's amazing, and it's one of those things where, like, yet again on a podcast, I've regrettably said something about someone I love in a weird way. I love Seth MacFarlane. I love what he's comedy genius. If I ever saw him in the street, I would never ever say that I love him. I would walk the other way and fucking dive into traffic because I would never want to even bother him. Like, I'm that guy. I'm the guy who, like, if I love you, I wouldn't say a word because I'm like, I don't want to bother you at all. And then I would just push it down and give myself high blood pressure about how I'm not, a more strong-willed person, and just tell the person I like that I like them.
Why can't you fix these problems about yourself?
I could if you go to betterhelp.com/Bill Maher.
No, I know. We all have things like that.
Well, I
that
was
we
talking
can't-
about self-sabotage. I feel like, Bill, and help me with this, I feel like I'm a guy who, when I have peace, like when I have peace at home with my family, when I have peace at financial freedom, I look for the chaos. And for example, I had peace at home last year. I had peace. I had a house with a great mortgage rate in a great area. It was the house of our dreams. And I said, you know what? Let's sell this house on Staten Island so we can move to Queens so I can walk to a bagel store. I feel like I like this house on Staten Island, but you know what? I can't walk and get a coffee, and that's really important for my creative process. So now I'm in a situation where I'm gonna buy another house that's twice as much money, that's half the size, that's twice the mortgage rate. And my family has looked at me and said, Chris, why the fuck, Dad, why did we leave this beautiful thing we have? And I have to kind of face the music of I self-sabotage. And it used to be, I'm just hurting myself, but now I'm hurting members of my family, and I want to try to correct that.
You're very fortunate that you're self-sabotaging with such a cushion. It's one thing to self-sabotage with no cushion.
Right.
It's another thing to self-sabotage with mortgages that are less advantageous than others, but you're still living there.
Right.
I mean, I remember.
But self-sabotage is.
Yeah, no, that's. If it's really just to get a bagel, I mean, that is kind of weird. I don't know. I mean, I'd have to see where you lived in Staten Island.
I want you to sleep over.
Well, we know that's not going to happen.
Why not?
Oh,
Bill,
no,
you would never do it?
I would never do it anywhere. I would never do Airbnb or no.
You'd rather, when you go to another place, are you in a hotel or you're in Airbnb? Not an Airbnb.
What?
What are you, a fucking migrant?
Exactly. Like, what am I? Yeah, please let me wash your pubes off the soap.
Yeah, thanks. Ugh. Thanks, Eric Adams.
I don't get so many things about what you kids are doing, but that's really.
Am I a kid to you? I'm 39.
No,
I'm grown.
No, but
Chuck was telling me I'm 39. He doesn't realize how young I am. I feel like my youth is ending now and my late 30s.
Yeah, well, you're middle age.
I am. Am I middle age?
Of course.
At 39, at 39, where were you at in your life and career? What were you doing? Do you remember?
Politically, no, it's a blank. 35 to 42, I don't know. Yes, I remember.
What were you doing at 39?
Well, it was the third year of Politically Incorrect. It was doing really well for Comedy Central. The next year, it would be our last year, then we went to ABC. So we were right, we were right in the middle of a good groove. Is that the year? I was still living in New York, which I did not like. Oh, good, you got me back to New York. That's the second time so the first time I lived on 8th Avenue between 55th and 56th. Okay, across from the Blimpies where I ate all the time.
Love Blimpies. They're defunct now.
I'm sure they are.
There's no Blimpies anymore. I like a good Quiznos sometimes.
But then in the 90s, when I moved back to do Politically Incorrect, to start
in New York,
because it was in New York, yes, it was HBO Downtown Productions, their production company, and it was on Comedy Central, which was a new network with very little programming.
Right. Down on Hudson Street, was it?
No, it was 23rd Street was the studio. Yeah. On the east side, like Lexington, nondescript, but fine. So, I would walk New York. Walking 30 blocks is not a big deal breaker if it's nice.
You get your steps in.
Yeah. So yeah, so okay, so now it's the 90s, I'm older, I'm doing better, I've got a TV show. I still fucking hated New York. And I still never, the thing,
Well, we love you.
I don't like, no, look, it's my home base, it's where my father worked, it's where my family's from, and there are things I do love about it, but I never liked the weather.
Right.
Too
Okay.
cold in the winter.
Fair.
Too muggy in the summer.
Fair.
My father used to say, there's 10 nice days a year.
He ain't wrong.
Okay, so then I don't like living in a building.
Okay.
I really don't like, it's just gross knowing there are people on the other side of a fucking wall. I know you're there. Just because there's this piece of wood between us.
I know you're pissing in the sink.
I mean, whatever. It's just, it's a gross.
Roaches, you can't stop roaches in New York buildings.
And you can't, well, in my first apartment, I remember waking them up sometimes crawling on me.
Of course.
So.
You had a bathtub in the living room.
Well, that was a different apartment.
Okay.
That apartment, oddly, although it didn't really have, no shower, barely a toilet, really just a hole and a chain. But it did not have roaches on 99th Street.
Well, you look like you keep a good house.
But the 8th Avenue one really was so disgusting.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
8th Avenue is still pretty gross.
No, I mean the roach situation.
Oh.
I mean, because everyone in the building has to be perfect with their trash. And
they're not going to do that.
No, and the rats are in the walls, and the roaches or whatever. Rats.
The super, it's not my job.
Yeah, exactly.
So
you can see how that was a great,
just
a great exit line, a great recurring.
Yes.
It's not my job.
It's not my job.
You know, your girlfriend says, "Hey, it's not my job." You just move it all around the house.
It's amazing. Let me ask you this, Bill, if you don't mind. What do you think has been the worst year of your life? Is there one that sticks out?
Great question, Merv.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
The worst year, I would have to say, it would be the year where I was most depressed, traumatized, and that would be when I was 17.
Okay.
When my first girlfriend dumped me.
Why'd she dump you?
Because I was acting like a dick. She was right to dump me.
Okay.
I had become bored and complacent.
Right.
And being young, did not know how to fake it like we all do.
So that was a traumatizing year for you.
Incredibly, to this day, and I'm going to be 68 next week.
You're going to be 68?
That's what I hear.
Bill, you look incredible.
Well,
no, Bill. Let me tell you something right now.
Oh,
Let me
please.
tell you something right now.
Okay.
I'm on the floor, like your boy, Richard Dreyfuss, emotionally, that you are 68 years old.
Okay, I didn't.
Holy shit.
Thank you.
No,
All
dude,
right.
you look fantastic.
All right.
Are you on Ozempic? Tell us the truth.
No, I'm
Dr. Drew.
But to this day, I've had nothing more traumatic ever happen to me, and I've had pretty shitty things, but not.
So
I've also been very lucky.
So 51 years ago was your most traumatic year.
Yes, because
that's beautiful.
Because
good for you.
I was the first time you get dumped after you think, oh, I'm gonna be with this person, and this is my girlfriend, and it came as such a shock because you're just so young and stupid.
Sure.
So it's not like when you're an adult and you are a little more aware. The more times you enter into a relationship on the poor side of it, the more you, in a way, debase how unique it is.
Right.
Whereas if you marry the first person you ever kiss, and you don't ever perhaps.
I don't ever know any different.
Right. It's pathetic, but people do it.
Yeah. So what's the best year of your life then? If you can imagine, with everything you've lived through, if 51 years ago was the worst, then what would you say, if you had to single it out, is the best?
That's really hard, because at different points in your life, different things are important. So it's a little like comparing Babe Ruth and Aaron Judge.
Right.
You could, but Babe Ruth played when there weren't night games.
Right. The dead ball era.
Well, he changed that. But
sure.
Yes, there was the dead ball era, and also little mitts They
Little
didn't. They
mitts.
didn't wear real big
Yeah,
gloves.
they
so
wore mitts like they were oven gloves.
Yeah, well, they were. It was literally a mitt, so no wonder they caught less balls.
Yeah.
You know, Babe Ruth's lifetime batting average is 342.
Yes.
If he played today, it would be 100 points lower.
Of course.
So it's a little like that, comparing how you felt in your 30s, because, you know, every decade you probably have.
Okay, so what's been your best decade? Would you say, if let's say you live to 100, which you might, because you look like a guy who might freeze himself. Let's say, would you possibly pull a Walt Disney?
No, but I'm certainly counting on AI to step up and
Yes.
and solve this age
Yes.
thing.
I think so. But would you say your best decade, if you could go back to any decade, would it be your 60s, your 50s, your 40s?
It was this one, because
This one, that's very
yeah.
interesting. I'm telling you, Bill, and a lot of
But
people
again,
I cannot believe you're
look,
68. You
mean-
are fantastic.
I mean, I had, like, maybe when I was in love in X year or X year, you know, and relationships tend to have a curve of, like, you know, where they kind of keep getting better, and then, you know, at a certain point, you know, it's very hard to keep the passion at its boil level, especially if you start out that way, like you did, without a condom.
Right away.
Right away.
I made it where from the first moment we met, I was like, there's no getting out of this. We are having a baby.
Really?
You know what it
That's
was?
your opening line?
You know what it was? You ready for this? I'm going to be vulnerable and honest with you right now. You ready for what it was? And this is where the self-sabotage comes in, and I don't regret it. When I met my girlfriend, the first moment I saw her, I was like, I felt a connection and a passion that I cannot explain. Where I was like, it felt from the cosmos. And this is 10 years later, so I know it's real. So I felt something, and I said, and when she told me in the first 10 minutes, because she's an excellent mother, that she had a child already. She had a 4-year-old son. I felt like, and that kid's father was still in her life. I felt like the only way I was going to feel significant to her is if her and I had a child too. So most people say, because I was already, you know, doing well enough, I was already on TV, whatever, not selling major tickets, but I was already like doing okay. People think the story is, oh, she must have trapped you. She had a kid from somebody else already.
Right.
She, you know, had a, you know, okay job. She trapped you. Other way around, my friend. I trapped her because I knew.
Why do anyone need to trap another person? Why? Aren't we starting off on a bad paradigm right there?
Are you cold?
Not after you get to know me.
Okay. No, because you're bundled up right now.
Isn't it kind of cold in here?
No. Dude, you're a 68-year-old woman.
But what? No, it's always been that way.
Bill Maher. No. Who cares?
We're
done? No, you're gonna
we're
end
not
it?
done.
Okay.
I'm just saying, I remember, I usually forget to do this. Are these mine? January 20th.
Let me read them.
Ladies and gentlemen, you'll see it's potluck. You'll see one of us. Okay, if you like both of us, I say you can't lose.
Yeah.
But January 27th, San Diego, at the San Diego Civic Theater. That sounds like you, but it could be me. February 16th and 17th, Las Vegas. Oh, this is me. David Copperfield Theater at the MGM Grand. And March 2nd, Houston, the Hobby Center. And March 3rd, El Paso, the Plaza Theater Performing Arts Center. And where are you performing, Chris?
There it is. Bill Maher on David Copperfield Theater. He's on the Epstein List tour. Who cares, right? And where am I, Bill?
Yeah, where are
I'll
you
tell
playing?
you where I'm not is Real Time with Bill Maher.
Well, I thought you were into the
I'm kidding.
organically.
I'm kidding. No, Bill, listen to me. Here's the thing.
Maybe you fuck on the first date, but I don't. Okay, my friend.
Listen, if you were Puerto Rican, I'd be fucking you right now. Where I'll be, you ready for this, folks? You ready for where I'll be? February, listen to me, come out. February 2nd, the Ryman Auditorium in Nashville.
Oh, I played
Legendary
that many
place,
times.
beautiful.
Love
and
it.
then February 3rd, the Warner Theater in Washington, D.C. And then February 8th, the Grand Sierra Resort, Reno, Nevada. And I'll tell you what, folks, I'll be open with you right now. I need your help. I'll tell you what, it's no fucking Radio City. The ticket sales are 50% sold, if that.
Well, that's very honest. I've never quite heard anyone do a plug like that. That's refreshingly kind of beautiful.
Either come to the show or I kill myself on stage. It's your choice. Blood's
That's
on your
a
hands.
very interesting way to do it. In
Well,
fact, you might
I
think,
wanna be honest with you,
might
Bill.
think about actually putting a gun to your head. But wait, let them.
Man, I'll be rock hard on stage.
But let them see you put a bullet in there. At least give them a shot.
Let's do it.
And then threaten
What am I
to
doing? Am I
kill.
sleeping over or what?
No.
Am I hanging out in the house?
Yeah. Do you have to go somewhere?
No.
Oh,
what the
okay.
fuck? I'm
So
supposed to.
what are you out here for? What are you doing?
I'm doing Jimmy Kimmel tomorrow. I came out here for you. I
Right.
swear to God, I came out here when Chuck reached out. I came out here to do this, and then this Friday I'm doing the Magnolia Theater out in San Diego, and then Saturday I'm doing the Will Turn.
That's awesome. That's a
You ever
great
do the
gig.
Will Turn?
No, I don't think I've ever done the Will Turn.
Well, it seems
I've-
like I'm not doing it either. I'm about 30% sold.
I've done the Nokia. That's about 6,000.
And you sold that puppy.
Yes, I did.
Yeah, the fact that, buddy, I'm telling you,
But
look at my
okay.
LA ticket sales, and we are not the same.
Can I say something about? I know Jimmy and Aaron Rodgers. Both have sat there. Both my friends. I know they're beefing.
I love them both. Yeah.
And I gotta say, Jimmy Kimmel is one of the sweetest, nicest guys. And I feel like I've not been as nice to him as he's been to me. I really mean that.
Yeah.
I really think he's an awesome guy. He's
He is.
such a sweet guy.
He is.
I mean, there's a reason why he has had the success he's had. And that was my old time slot.
Right.
You know, that we
Yes.
did a switch. That
Right.
was a hot
Jimmy
switch.
Jimmy is one of those guys who I've gotten to know him very well. He's
know.
taken me under his wing a
I
bit.
know he has.
And he's a really, really great guy
really
and a
is.
comic first. When all that Aaron Rodgers shit went down and all that stuff, like I thought he handled it good. And I texted him JETS, Jets, and he wrote back LOL. Because he's just a good dude. You know? He's a good dude.
Here's where, again, so that's Jimmy. I mean, I just think he's such a great guy. And again, you don't last that long unless there's something innately about you that the audience, especially in these kind of jobs where you're just speaking directly, you're not reading cards. I mean, there's things we do as a bit off the prompter, but generally you're just speaking. They have to feel like there's something they like about you, that
Sure.
something that's real. And, what he is comes across as just what he is, a great, funny, kind guy.
Right.
So it bothers me that he's beefing with Aaron. And Aaron look, I love Aaron. And
You know him personally as well.
Well, he sat there. We are simpatico on medical matters.
Right.
Jimmy, I am not. And that's okay. We don't all have to
Sure.
agree. I think Jimmy is way too captivated by orthodox ideology, and science is not religion. It's ever changing and
Sure.
should be looking at different ideas. And I think that's my opinion, that he's way too indoctrinated into a certain mode of thinking. And just ask Dr. Fauci, he has all the answers. And it is really, let's not to get into it. I've done it on many podcasts, but it's just not my way of thinking. Aaron should not have made that original comment about Epstein. And, whether it's technically true what he said, I mean, technically actionable what he said or not, you don't link. And
No.
also, Jimmy Kimmel is like
Yeah.
the last guy in the world
Yeah.
who would fucking be, I might be.
Yes.
I wouldn't.
Well,
but,
Middle Village doesn't think you were on there.
What?
Middle Village Queens
Right.
does not think you're on there.
No, I would look. I wouldn't be on there. But the idea that Jimmy Kimmel would be
Yeah.
on that plane in that company, just first of all, he's not. He's a very successful guy. He's not of that stature.
No.
I mean, no offense, but he's
Yeah.
just not of that stature, and he's not into
Yeah.
creepy stuff.
Listen, I know Jimmy, relatively well. He's, again, a genuine dude, a guy who, as I've said, when you get to know him personally, like if he had a podcast like you, it would be shooting the shit. It would be like Jimmy is one of the funniest guys you talk to, a guy's guy.
Yeah.
There's no way. Even some of the people who on social media are like, buy into the bullshit about Jimmy. It's like, if you knew Jimmy, you'd realize he thinks just like you. He acts just like you. He's just a great guy,
Well, he
funny guy.
doesn't think just like me. He's way.
Well, thinks differently than you. I'm talking about the
He's-
guys from
yeah.
like Middle Village.
He's to the woke of me.
Right. Which
And
is
again,
fine.
that is fine.
Because that's America. That's the beautiful part of our country is that we can have kind of differences of opinion. And
Exactly.
still be okay. In Russia, you can't do that.
Especially when they're slighter differences than the major ones. Like, we both don't want Trump to be president.
Right.
Okay.
I do.
You do?
No.
And that's okay.
No, I don't. I don't know. If you want to be full,
Yeah.
Donald Trump, the thing is, in New York, for like
Queens boy.
Queens boy, he's a Queens boy. Donald Trump, when we were little kids, there was a festival on Cross Bay Boulevard.
What, like the Festival of San Gennaro? And
Yes.
he's Don Cheech dispensing
Yes.
favors to the, is that
We
really?
call it the Festival of January 6th. No, there was a festival when we were little kids, okay? Everybody, this is true, in Queens on Cross Bay Boulevard out in Howard Beach, there was a Howard Beach kind of, festival, like, fucking sausage and pepper stands and Ferris wheels and all that.
So where's Howard Beach like related to Jones Beach?
So Jones Beach is Long Island, Howard Beach is
Oh.
Queens.
So further in.
Howard Beach is like the Italian, real old school Italian neighborhood. And
Right.
at that festival.
With a beach.
Right. I would always go, my dad would take me or my family. We would always go. And as little kids, John Gotti, old mob boss, that's
Sure.
where he lived, his stomping grounds. He owned Howard Beach. And Donald Trump would always be there. And John Gotti and Donald Trump, to a little 10-year-old kid, were awesome. Shaking hands, cotton
Sure.
candy, whatever you want. So the thing is, when you're from New York and the neighborhood I'm from, all of us have, like, at some point in our life been around an event where Donald Trump has been there, and he is a very, very, very in-person, likable man.
Totally. I met him
Yes.
twice. Once, the Playboy Mansion, it was the Midsummer Night's Dream Party.
Yeah.
So everyone is in either lingerie or men, some sort of sleeping attire.
Sure.
And he had the power suit on,
Yes.
walking around, did like a lap
Yes.
in the power suit.
Yes.
And yes, I agree. He was, and I've heard so many people say this, in person, he was charming. In the sense that, and what is the definition of charming? Somebody who's interested in you.
Right.
And that's
Yes.
what we think is charming. And he was. It was
Right.
like, how you doing? That is a way that a salesman ingratiates himself.
Right.
But yeah, he was not the monster we saw
Right.
so many times,
I've made a choice, and again, this is just my choice. I'm not saying people at home should do this, but just my choice as a human being. If I don't know you personally, or if I've never met you, I don't really have an opinion on you. I can't go by the edited versions that the media shows me. Like, now I know you as Bill Maher. And I
Right.
sat down with
Oh,
you
I
for
totally
2
agree.
hours, and I'm like, you know what, Bill? I like you, man. I was in your presence. I
Right.
like you. I can't tell you if
I
I
like you too, man.
if I like Zelensky. You're moving your jeans like you have a fake leg, like it got blown off in Nam. And I don't know Zelensky. I don't know Joe Biden. To be honest, don't even know Donald Trump. So I can't tell you I have an opinion on them. I have an opinion on Jimmy Kimmel.
Well-
I have an opinion on you, and I could tell you you're great guys because I've met you and I like you.
Okay, I like you too, but that's ridiculous. You absolutely can have an opinion on people in politics.
But how
because-
do I know?
Because there are certain things that they do that get reported in a newspaper, certain things that are incontrovertible, including quotes.
But how do I
there
know
are-
that you didn't, not you, but the media didn't edit that and
Okay,
take words out?
that's a crazy level of paranoia. I have many, many issues with the New York Times, but when they quote someone directly, I trust the New York Times
Okay.
is quoting the words exactly as they can. They are not doctoring it. So,
But
now,
sometimes a clip online on Twitter.
No, what they
they're
can
leaving
do-
out words or
that's
tone.
Twitter. Well,
All
yes,
right.
that's why you should read a newspaper instead of get it from social media, because they can fuck with it that way. Now, what they can do in the New York Times, and what they do is editorialize in the article. It should be reserved for the editorial page, but they do it on the front page and every page. So does the New York Post in the opposite direction.
Okay.
One of them is conservative and just gives you the conservative point of view, and one of them slants everything toward the liberal, democratic, and very often very woke point of view.
Right.
So they will quote the accurate thing somebody says, but the editorial part comes in with, well, he said 4 things. Which one do we print? If you print one of them, it makes him sound stupid. If you print another one, maybe it sounds reasonable. Those kind of decisions are made, and they do affect how you see somebody. That's why you can't get news only from one source unless you want to be in a bubble. And I
Right.
do not want to be in a bubble. And my whole success really
Right.
is about breaking through that bubble
Right.
and being the anti-bubble guy. I don't have a team.
Right.
That's why I don't have a lot of support in, like I will never get nominated for anything, or, never put me on a cover of a magazine, things like that, because that's like the establishment. I am not playing in their.
But that's a safer and better way to go. It's more appease,
It's a sacrifice that's worth it,
but
it is.
But what the valuable lesson that I was getting to, that I learned with this sitcom pilot that failed, okay, it didn't go, is what the valuable lesson I learned is that you cannot put your career in the hands of the media or the networks. You have to put it in the hands of your fans, and you've done an excellent job of that.
Yeah.
Is your fans are the ones who uphold you, because as you said,
Yeah.
you're not getting nominated for these things, but
Right.
the fans don't give a crap.
They don't.
They're supporting you for
No,
you, and that's a beautiful thing.
And I think we both understand you could not possibly do both. I could not possibly speak the way I do that makes them such loyal fans.
Right.
And also be, with Meryl Streep at the
Sure.
Golden Globes. It's just, it's just two different universes. And I'm not picking on her, but I mean, like, there are people who are, woke approved and safe, and then there are people who are the opposite of that.
Sure.
I noticed that they are mulling having Ricky Gervais back, which would be awesome, because he is not. He is the one. I got to give him a lot of props to be even considered. And he won the award this year because he's out there as far as like,
Right.
upsetting the woke apple cart.
As a comedian, and I would assume you would agree, as a comedian, to me, there is nobody better served for that Golden Globe spot, if we're just talking about comedy spit, than Ricky Gervais.
The best. He was so great at
Ricky
it.
Gervais, his scripted shows, when I watch Afterlife, when I watch Derek, when I watch his version of The Office, I look at him and I say, there's the Ray Romanos, there's the Jerry Seinfelds, but when I watch Ricky Gervais, I say, that is a man. As a comedian, I love his style and I love his unapologetic version of him. And that's a guy in that world, in that scripted world, I would kill for a chance to work with Ricky Gervais. To me, he's the best to ever do the scripted show, in my opinion. Subjective opinion.
Like The Office.
Yes. And Derek and the Afterlife. His show Afterlife on Netflix, to me, was groundbreaking for me. It's the only comedy show that spoke to me as an adult where I was like, this man is just kind of helping me through depression and anxiety.
And great that he can do that and still then do stand-up at such a high level, because that's something most, Woody Allen, was a great stand-up.
Sure.
But he didn't do it, 1 year past when he became a filmmaker.
Well, Bill,
it was like, now I'm making films. I'm not going back to my high school.
Well, that's the thing too about you. That's what they respect, at least from the comedy crew, about you, is we know that you don't financially have to do stand-up, but you do it for the love of it.
Yes.
And there's a deep appreciation in my seat, in the Dreyfuss seat, for you because of that. And I think the fans too, who are big fans, you don't have to be performing anywhere. You don't have to do any of this, but you do it for the love, and there's a deep appreciation I have for that.
It's also, for me, almost like, they always say you need a hobby. Mm-hmm. Now, don't take that the wrong way, like I'm denigrating stand-up, like, it's just a hobby. No, it's what I started out doing.
Yeah.
Okay, it's the goose that laid the golden egg. Sure. And, I feel like I've never been better at it. I mean, you asked me before about, like, Carson, did you look back and hate it? Yeah, I hated some of the jokes I was doing.
Right.
Because I got better.
Yeah.
But when you're younger, they let you get away with it. You're adorable, I guess. I don't know what it was, but some of them were funny. Some of them make me cringe. But that's the I think kind of thing about a great comic is you to Louis C.K. to Bill Burr would look back at their old material and be like, ugh, cringe, because you've evolved. If you're not looking back at your stuff from 10 years ago and if you're looking back and be like, that was great, then you haven't evolved. See, I'm older than you. 10 years ago, I was good. 20 years ago, I'm talking about, I started at 23. I did my first HBO as a half-hour special. look, there's funny stuff in all of it. It's just, and again, it's apropos to my age sometimes. I mean, I was in my late
68.
I was in my late 20s.
Dude, you're my Harriet Tubman.
So the stuff I was talking about, was sometimes very different than what I would talk about today.
Sure.
And also, you just don't have the gravitas
Right.
to speak about politics when you're in your 20s. Like, it's not.
You haven't earned the right yet. Now
you haven't
have.
earned the right, and the audience is correct. You haven't. You haven't lived enough. You're
Well,
not.
that's why the Golden Globes just happened. That's why I think Ricky Gervais is perfect for that. And to be honest, you would be good at that if you ever wanted to.
Oh, so good.
Because
They would never dare.
No, because you're all contemporaries with these people. When you have a guy, other people who the celebrities may not know, even if they're big names, it's like it's a tough thing because it's like you got to be contemporaries with these people.
But these people are very indoctrinated. Look, I love my show business compatriots. It's a wonderful business. Thank you, Jesus, for putting me in it. But
I believe in Jesus, by the way. We'll talk about that.
Oh.
I'm reading The Case for Christ by Lee Strobel. It's convincing evidence.
What do you think? I throw people out of the club here? We believe in whatever you want.
I didn't. I went to Catholic school my whole life, but after reading this book, Case for Christ by Lee Strobel, the factual evidence that he existed is kind of overwhelming.
I'd like to see that because the factual evidence that he existed has always been underwhelming. In fact, it's always...
Read Case for Christ.
Yeah, I
Give
will.
it a shot by Lee Strobel.
This is based on what? Archaeological finds?
Archaeological finds.
New ones?
Theological finds. Ivy League.
What are theological finds?
Bill, ready for this?
Yeah.
If I told you, okay, if I told you factual evidence about Alexander the Great, you would believe me.
Okay, but even still, it's a silly point because who cares if Jesus lived? It's whether he's then died and was reborn and is up in heaven with his Father, who's really him.
Okay,
that's the part where the rubber meets the road. Maybe he existed. I agree. That's absolutely possible. He may have existed.
But according to Case for Christ, independent sources who didn't know each other, who wrote about him within 20 years of his death, talked about these miracles happening as in real time.
Okay, well, again...
And Alexander the Great's biographers, the earliest one was like 100 years after he died.
Chris, I'm going to have to burst your bubble now because I have to spit a couple of facts at you that are kind of going to under... Okay.
It's Hollywood.
There's only two sources in the Bible. Okay. There's the four Gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John.
Okay. There's also another guy, Josephus, who wasn't accepted, but read The Case for Christ.
Not in the Bible.
Okay.
But the Bible is itself an anthology. They found some few decades ago the Dead Sea Scrolls, which were other books that were just basically edited out. So right away we know a person decided what constituted the Bible, and just some stuff wound up on the cutting room floor.
I get it. Council of Nicaea. I get it.
Council of Nicaea, yes.
325 AD. Yes. That's when they decided the Christian religion. I agree with you.
Right.
I'm with you on that.
I remember that.
But I'm telling you, read this book.
That's Emperor Constantine.
Shout out Constantine, Turkey, all that.
Well, the first one.
Constantinople.
The first one to change the Roman Empire to a Christian empire.
They decided all the holidays.
Took 3 centuries.
I get it. And listen, Bill,
but,
I'm with you on that.
But here's the important point.
Let's do it.
There's only these 5 sources.
A little bit more tequila, that's it.
Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John.
I'm wrecked right now.
Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John.
Good boys.
Not contemporaries of Jesus, not even close. Matthew, so they lived from 70 to 110 years after him.
I understand.
No, from 40 to 70 years after.
But they got their information from Josephus, who lived about 10 years after Jesus.
So already we're into a game of telephone. Okay.
Bill, yes, but
the other person,
I want to make you let your point, but let me just quickly. The game of telephone, yes, I agree with you that point. But the game of telephone in Jesus' times, according to Lee Strobel in The Case of Christ, was the simple fact of we're playing the game of telephone. There's 10 people here. The game of telephone, as we know it today, is you say something in my ear and then it goes around 10 times, and by the time it gets to you, it's something radically different. This game of telephone, this ancient game of telephone was, but you tell it to me, then the third guy confirms what you said before it goes to the fourth guy. So there's a level of checking, checks and balances.
Chris, you're working too hard. If you want to believe this shit, believe it. You don't have to convince me or
I'm just convincing you of case for Christ.
or construct this scaffolding to which you hang this belief. Just believe it. It's all good.
Okay.
But it's
Don't come to me, and when you die at St. Peter's, I'm not getting you in.
But you know, I can't go there with you. It's just, you know, it's silly. And
Well, I'm just saying, it's nice, the idea to believe in something. I'm just trying it on for size.
Here's also what's very interesting, and then I'll leave this subject, because, excuse me, I think I've bored the audience with this before, but...
What do you think, Barbara in Milwaukee gives a fuck? They turned this off, when they found out I wasn't Ellen.
Yeah, like that's the kind of audience we have.
Your audience is great.
So...
you think they'll like me?
St. Paul...
Good guy, St. Paul, a.k.a. Saul, and the capital of Minnesota.
Is the other source of the Bible.
Yes.
There's Mark, Matthew, Luke, and John. I said the two names out of order because that's the order in the Bible. The first gospel, Mark, is 70 AD. Jesus dies in 33. So that's 40 years almost after he died.
Okay.
So not contemporaries. Paul comes before the gospel writers. He's writing around the year 50. In the 50s.
Okay.
So he's much closer to Jesus's time. So you'd think he would know more about Jesus than the people who came later, but actually St. Paul knows almost nothing about Jesus. He barely conceives of him as something that, as a person who lived on earth. There's no details about his life like they are in the Gospels. So the people who came later know more than the person who wrote earlier. Just some food for thought.
But, okay, I understand. But he does acknowledge at some point, right? Paul, a.k.a. Saul, knows that Jesus existed, right? He talks about him.
He talks about, I'm saying he conceives him as a Godhead. He doesn't have this, it's not the narrative that's in the Gospels of Jesus went around and he did miracles and he did stuff and everybody loved him and he gets quoted a lot. He makes speeches, blessed are the meek. You know, he has adventures. He goes into the desert. It's a whole thing.
But what about...
And then at the end, it's a whole drama with, you know, he's crucified. Oh, no. Paul doesn't know any of this. All the stuff that the gospel writers obsess about and that are his biography. It's a little strange.
But Paul, it's okay for Paul to be somebody who maybe, there was a lot of people who didn't like Jesus.
You know what's okay?
And that's okay.
What's okay is that some people believe and other people don't. That's what's okay. It's like, that's you.
Yeah.
And
I'm not trying to put it on you. I'm just saying what I believe
I
in.
know. And
I'm wearing a corduroy shirt my mother got me for Christmas, and I feel confident.
Is that really? Your mother got you that?
You ever been to Japan?
No.
Should we go?
No.
Why don't you want to go to Japan?
It's too far.
But why not? We'll do a PJ. You'll pay for it.
I don't go east of La Brea.
Really?
Well, come on.
You don't go international?
I do not anymore. I did some internet.
Why, hon?
Because it's just too stressful. I'm a nervous traveler, very nervous traveler.
Right.
So travel has to be made super pampered for me, or else I'm just stay home. You know.
The fact, you know, the thing is about you, Bill, what's overwhelming. No, seriously, from sitting close to you, and I don't know if your fans know this about you, you're a passionate guy. And that's nice about you, dude. It's nice to see real passion from a guy. It really is.
Oh, thank you.
Yes.
I
see disingenuous from a lot of people are disingenuous. You're a genuine, passionate guy, and it's very, I know the streets, you know, for growing up in New York, you got to set out the bullshit. You're passionate, man.
Yes, and, you know, when I get head up about something, it's real. I'm not acting it, because I think is my bond with the audience. They know I'm never acting or faking it or pulling a punch. And so, you know, if I'm like, you know, it's real, because I've certainly seen plenty of hosts like get way too fake worked up about something that, oh, I know you don't really care about it that much. You know, it's just like, and they act like the issue is happening to them personally more than the whole country. It's just gross. And I always, you know, took the advice of, I don't know where I read it when I was a kid thinking about being a comic, of don't leave out the jokes. Always keep in the jokes.
Always.
Because that's the sugar that makes the medicine go down. You know, you don't ever. Lenny Bruce forgot the comedy. You know, it's happened. Talk about self-sabotage. That's a way to do it.
Sure.
Forget the jokes. Think you're too important to do that, or you know.
Yeah, some of my peers I'll see on social media, they'll make a political point, no joke. And I'm like, but it says comedian in your bio. Where's the joke? My friend Jimmy Jet Blue could say what you just said. Where's the material? That's why I think personally, what I would like to see in 2024, I know it's an election year, the presidential candidates, whomever they may be, should go on your show and Joe Rogan's show. That's what CNN, Fox News, also go on them. But if you really want a genuine election, go on Bill Maher's show, go on Joe Rogan's show, and there you have it. Debate there.
But see, you did it again.
What did I do now? You and Joe.
See, I happen to respect Joe a lot.
Sure.
And like
you were
him.
great on his pod.
Oh, thank you. And I like him a lot. But if it had been somebody who I didn't like or respect, then you would have you would have committed that mammoth crime.
Yes. Yes.
I love, if somebody came up to you and said, "Oh my God, you are just my favorite comedian. You and like, I don't want to say any names because we don't want to hurt anybody's feelings.
Right.
But I'm sure you can think of some names.
Yes.
Of some, we used to call them hacks.
Yes.
Derivative is a word that came up sometimes.
Right.
And I worked with so many great comics and some who did not make it. I don't know if you had the same experience if you were like in clubs for a number of years where you got to know guys like a band of brothers because you hung out every night in the clubs.
Yes.
Okay. And, I still remember some of their acts.
Yeah.
And some of the great jokes. And what happened? It's a little like the army. The guy next to you gets shot. The guy next to you on the other side gets shot. And, I don't know why some funny people didn't continue with that career. Maybe the material ran out or I don't know.
Well, a lot of it is, luck is,
just the audience, just like, I don't know.
It's timing.
Or drive, ambition, or just luck.
Yeah. Life is timing, like Rodney Dangerfield, who went on to become a legend. He was doing that I Get No Respect act for years and years and years. It wasn't until the movie The Godfather came out, which was all about respect, and he was the no respect guy, did he become famous in Rodney Dangerfield. It was a timing thing, which is why I mentioned in the beginning of your podcast, you've just always stayed true to who Bill Maher is. You are you. And now the country is changing, but you're staying who you are and your numbers are going up because now the country has evolved to be like, we are aligning with Bill Maher because he's rational and sounds like we all sound. There was a time where you didn't to people. But you stay who you are.
There was a poll, it was reported in Mediaite about, it was like right around Christmas, that I was the most trusted. More than Rogan, more than it said.
You were the most trusted.
Yes.
Yes.
It said more than Joe Rogan and more than Jake Tapper.
I believe it.
And I like Jake Tapper.
I like Jake Tapper.
He's one of the few talking heads on cable news that I like. He
seems like he's just down the middle.
I used to love Brian Williams.
Mm-hmm.
He was like Cary Grant doing the news.
Right.
Trust, I think, is something that you get like that because, first of all, you've been around for a while, a long time, 30 years on TV with only a 6-month interruption. That's a long time.
Yes.
And you're right, and sticking to your guns, and also both sides have gotten nuttier, way nuttier.
Yes.
Trumpism is nuttier, and wokeism is nuttier.
Mm-hmm.
So to be, I think, well positioned in the middle. I mean, of course, lots of people think I'm horrible because I'm in the middle somehow. I think I'm where I always was, basic old school liberalism, but the goalposts have moved around me. And Elon Musk made the same point. He drew it once. Right. And there's lots of us who feel the same way, like Barry Weiss and people like this are like, she's like not a conservative.
Right.
She's married to a woman. She's Jewish. These are not things that we ever associated with, and we're not conservatives.
Well, that's why I'm saying, and like why I try to talk to my kids as a parent is like, just stay true to who you are. don't conform to the world, because the world is always ever changing. But you've always stayed true to who you
And
are.
how old are these children?
13, 8, and 2.
Which one is the one from the previous marriage?
13.
13.
My stepson. Yeah.
His stepson, 13.
Great kid.
That's a
Lefty. He could fucking solve a Rubik's Cube in 6 seconds. He's almost autistic.
All
How
right.
great he is at
I'm
the
never
Rubik's
going to
Cube.
meet him, but you know.
Why not?
I'm
He'll
just
come
kidding.
over.
No,
Why
I don't.
He'll sleep over.
I don't like kids.
But he's a good kid. He's a lefty.
Every parent thinks their kid's a good kid.
No. I'm not going to give you a dissertation on my children. This kid's a good kid. He's got great hair. You would like this kid.
Okay, you would know better, Chris.
You would like his dad too. His dad's a good guy.
His dad's
Now,
a
how
great
great
guy.
is that? I'm
His
very
real
good
dad you're
friends.
talking about?
I'm very good friends with my stepson's father. How great is this? I'm in a great relationship where me, my girlfriend, wife, and my stepson's father all make decisions for our children together. Three of us.
So
Isn't that nice?
So things can work.
They can work, Bill. I want you to have sex with a woman who has a child.
That I've had sex with a woman who's had a child. You think I've got to 68 years old and never had sex with a?
Bill,
there was a time when I was all about the single moms. I don't know, it just was a coincidence or something.
How great
but
are single moms? Circumcised or no?
Like late 90s,
right.
Mid-late 90s. I feel
39,
like
40s.
Yes, but I just feel like I knew a few in that period, women I dated who were single moms, and they were still very young. Come on, everybody likes what they like. So, but the thing is, like, normally a 22-year-old girl, and I was 40, so okay, a little older, but I don't think that's who gives a shit? Please, Cher's boyfriend is 40 years younger.
It's like, thank God this isn't medieval times.
People should be able to just do what they want with who they want.
If you're over 18, it's whatever you want to do. I'm not morally, but legally, it's fine.
You know what the definition of an age-appropriate relationship is?
Tell me.
One that works.
That's it.
That's what's appropriate, what works. Anyway, you see, they have me like pre-defending shit because you're just your antenna's always up for these assholes.
Don't even worry about it.
You're right.
Bill, let me tell you something.
I just like to say fuck them before. I like to pre-fuck you.
Your fans are fucking ride or die.
Exactly.
It doesn't matter.
You're so right.
If the New York Times or whoever turned around tomorrow and said Bill Maher said your fans don't give a fuck.
So right, Doctor.
You've created.
Thank you.
You've put your career in the hands of your fans and not a network, and that's the beauty of this shit.
Yes, you're right. No,
that's the beauty of it. What you've done, Bill.
That was very profound.
Billy Maher, William Maher, folks. He's a good man. He's a founding father.
But what was I talking about there? It was something important to me.
I don't know.
Come on. What were we just talking about?
What are we going to do? We're going to go to dinner? What are we going to do?
No, it was like...
You can't. You got to work.
Oh.
You got to work. You got to work
My
on a real-time monologue.
Ended with a thud. Yeah.
What, you went on vacation recently?
No. We were off. We had off from... Our last show was December 15th, and so here it is, January.
Can I tell you something real quick? I'm sorry to interrupt. Your episode with Candace Owens was beautiful because I know you guys have differences of opinion.
Yeah.
But it was a great episode.
Thank
you. I'm going to tell you something right now. One of the most beautiful women in the world to me is Candace Owens. I don't agree with all her politics, but just a beautiful person, a confident, passionate woman. I love her.
Yes, I mean, she is certainly
gorgeous to me.
She's beautiful. And
I'm going to get in trouble for this. Jazz, I'm in love with you. But it's okay to think other people are pretty once in a while.
I think we got that.
Okay.
I
love her. I want to make sure that she knows I fucking love her because I need to get scissors to the throat again.
No, I can tell you're a lucky motherfucker because lots of people find somebody great. It's keeping it going. Mm-hmm. And it's having passion at 10 years with them. That's what is elusive.
What is beautiful about my partnership with Jasmine is I know that woman has my fucking back. She will not let anybody get in between. She has my back, and that's beautiful.
But excuse me, as wonderful as the quality is of having your back, and I agree, it is a great one that I couldn't live without either when I get serious with somebody.
You will.
But
you're in your 70s, you're
having somebody's back doesn't always make your dick hard.
Okay.
It's a different kind of thing.
It helps that she's a gorgeous Puerto Rican woman.
It helps. Even gorgeousness has its limits. You know the old saying, show me the most beautiful woman in the world, and somewhere there's a guy who's tired of fucking her.
That's what my dad said.
Well, that puts me in good company.
No,
huh?
my father's 76. He told me, Chris, here's
It's-
the one thing I need you to know. My dad told me this. He goes, here's the one thing I need you to know is my brain, my male brain is no different than your brain. He goes, it's just when I look in the mirror, I have a dick that doesn't work. When you look in the mirror, you have a dick that still works. He goes, but I still want to have sex with the girl who walks into the video store just like you. But I can't because I can't get my dick up. But he said the male brain still thinks it's 25 years old. So he said, so just if you're happy with this woman, stay with this woman, build a life with this woman, you'll be okay. That's what he told me.
What's wrong with his dick?
He can't get it up.
Why?
He too many meds. He's on blood pressure
Med-
medicine,
Of
diabetes
course.
medicine.
Yeah.
You're a healthy guy.
Yes. It's
You got a
both-
healthy
it's-
BMI. I bet your BMI is normal.
Yes, it's pretty good. It's like to be president, you have to be 35, right?
What do you think
It's
about
a little
that
like
rule?
Oh, I think it's good. I mean,
Okay.
35 is please.
What should there be an age limit the other way? You can't be
No.
over
Well,
70.
no, because that's a case by case. I mean, there are definitely people in their 90s. I wouldn't think we should elect them president, but I don't know. Other cultures understand the benefit of having sage advice, and sage comes with age. And
Sage comes with age. Make that merch.
at least have someone around as the nestor, the wise old advisor, who I just feel like that would be a good role. You could have like some like president emeritus role,
I like that.
and some like Biden would be good for that. And then have a younger guy, like Gavin Newsom running around.
Sure.
Somebody who looks great and is vim and
Well,
vigorous.
listen, again, I'm not political, and I'm not politically educated, as certainly not as much as you are.
You say things like that, and then you're mad at me for not putting you on real time. I'm not political, and I'm not politically educated. Bill, why can't I get on your political show?
Come on, Bill.
What is the problem?
What do I gotta do?
Hold up. Is it because I'm white?
Yes, that's what it is, you piece of shit. No, but is there, and I might be wrong factually, but we're in the election year of 2024. Let me get a little bit. We're in the election year of 2024. Go ahead, light it up. Come on.
What would be the crack house? Okay.
Has there ever been a time where there's no clear-cut candidate for who's representing the Repubs, who's representing the Dems this late in the year?
Well, there is clear cut. We exactly know who they are.
Is it Joey B versus Donnie T?
Oh, you really don't know anything about politics.
Bill, I've told you, I don't know.
Okay,
You're
never
my
getting on-
daddy.
you're never getting on real time. You can't. You're not even allowed in the studio. You can't be in the. you cannot be in the crowd.
Come on.
Wow.
I'll put in a new boiler for you. But you think it's Donnie T versus Joey B?
I can't even.
It's not confirmed.
Usually, I don't ever talk to someone this stupid about politics unless they're 22 and they have big tits.
I am 22 with big tits.
Okay.
To the young kids. This is what a woman looks like in 2040.
And just to save you some anguish when you're out and at parties and so forth and talking to people, museums, wherever you go, just to save yourself some anguish, don't say it like it's somebody's unique opinion. So you think it's going to be a Trump and Biden? Yes, we all know it's going to be Trump and Biden. Trump is beating his nearest competitors in the primaries by like 40 points.
But they said in 2016 that Hillary Clinton was up by 80 points and Trump won.
They never said that. You're getting the worst sort of information. I don't know what you're looking at.
The New York Post.
No, the New York Post didn't say that. Nobody said she was up by 80 points.
Jimmy JetBlue told me that.
Well, he's a moron. It's not close to true.
Watch when you take an next JetBlue flight where your bags wind up.
Castro didn't win by 80 points. It's ridiculous. No, you cannot do real time. I'm loving you here, but
Bill.
This is what you are exactly like. I'm going to make a flyer about coming on Club Random and use your picture. Hey, if you're far too dumb about politics to go on real time, have I got a place for you? It's
No.
Bill's Bargain Basement Filene's talk show. We will
I'm getting up fucking real time.
We will take mutants. We will take skeletons. We will take bright animals. Anybody can get on this show.
You know, you said something on a podcast. I'm not sure what guest it was, but you said something about like, you know, you're like, hey, I'm happy I didn't have kids because kids now in today's world are different than kids back in the day. And I kind of appreciated that.
I don't know. I mean this as sincerely as I can. I don't think it's ever been harder to be a parent.
Yep.
For the simple reason is the one thing all through history you could do with kids is boss them around, which you totally need to keep them under control.
Yes.
And that is sort of verboten now. That is, I don't know how parents deal with just the attitude and talking back and questioning everything and thinking they're your peers and inviting themselves into conversations. But there's just like a host of things that didn't happen, and I'm not against them just because they're different than the way I grew up. Some things are better, but not that.
Right.
Not this fundamental relationship that, a 10-year-old is just some smaller version of an adult. No. They're a child. They have a quantitative difference in what they're capable of thinking of.
Right.
You cannot treat them the same way, and they do.
Yeah. So my kids, you know, like me and my girl, we do the best we can with them, but there is times where my kids will talk back to us, and we live in a parenting world where it's like, you know, my mom's mom would have hit. We're not going to hit because, of course, the new research teaches that
they'll call social services. That's what I mean.
Yes.
Is that you can't, not that you should be always hitting your kids, but I got spanked a few times and it was the right thing to do.
Sure. So, you know, we can't do that. You know, when we tell them, well, you know, when they talk back, like saying like, hey, like you're grounded, you know, the research now will say, well, that teaches them that when they make a mistake, that it's they automatically get these negative consequences, and that's not good for adulthood. So you start to say, okay, well, what the hell then am I supposed to do? And I try to conversate with my 8-year-old just as I would conversate with you, but it's very, very, very difficult. And I think what's happening now with parents, is myself included, is sometimes I feel like I'm not doing the best job I can to parent my children because I can't rear them the way my parents reared me.
You should never rear a kid. That is just wrong.
Yes, you shouldn't do that.
I don't even think adults should be rearing.
And like I said, Middle Village Queens thinks you're in the 99% of people who don't do that.
Yeah, well, they're right. That's your town?
Now, let me ask you this, Bill. If you had sex, I'm talking about, let's say you had sex with a gorgeous 30-year-old Puerto Rican woman tomorrow, okay? And she got pregnant. Would you keep it? Would you be a father at 68 years old?
No, not.
You don't want it anymore.
I never wanted it. I avoided it, didn't I?
But why not? Why not round out the last 20 with a fucking little Billy Maher?
Oh, my, round out the last 20? Oh, God.
You think you're making it to 90? Not with the way you smoke and drink.
This is the first drink I've had, and the smoking I do is not harmful.
Bill.
I mean, it's not health food.
I'm telling you, you got a healthy BMI. I told you from the beginning you're healthy. You wouldn't have a kid right now today?
No, why would I? of all the times in my life.
Why not, Bill?
Because I don't like children.
Okay. I don't take any offense to that. I really
You shouldn't.
I don't. I really don't. We can have differences of opinion.
Yes, this is a dumb conversation. Some people like children, some people don't.
Which is fine.
Some people like pudding, some people don't.
Who doesn't like pudding?
Some people don't like sushi, some people do. That's life. So no.
That's life.
Why would I fucking want a mewling, puking, complaining, entitled?
All right, Bill, let me ask you this.
Little monster
Okay, but we're talking about children. Let me ask you this. In your escapades, which we've all had it, what would you do if you found out, you're 68 years old, what would you do if you found out right now that back in the day, let's say Jersey, let's say even when you're 39 plus, you got one past the goalie with a random woman, we don't even know who she is, and you have a 25-year-old kid that's a good kid, would you take responsibility for him? Would you say, you know what, I'm happy to be a dad to this person? If there's a little Billy Maher out there.
Okay, Dr. Phil. First of all, your use of the word escapades, I think, exactly illustrates the difference between you and me.
I'm a Janet Jackson fan. I love the word escapades.
It's a great word. I didn't even know she was associated
She has a
with
song Escapades I love.
Oh,
That's how you want to know how you know I'm gay? I love the song Escapades by Janet Jackson.
oh. Well, here's how I'm gay. I probably read it reading Voltaire or something. But escapades is a great word.
You know how I know you're gay? Because when you were 10 years old, you read poems.
Not poems, but I was a reader. Anyway, like escapades. It's such a great word because it connotes that time of life.
Mhm.
I mean, that was your meaning when you said we've all had escapades. It was
Did.
it was a very charming way of saying, you sold your wild oats or you
Sure.
know. Okay, my philosophy of life was always, wow, escapades are fun.
Mhm.
Why do they have to end?
Right. Right.
And that's where I am.
That's what you are.
Yeah. And other people are like, no, that's childish or whatever. It's like, well, for you it would be. But I think there should be no moral dimension to that.
Yes.
It's just, again, people have different tastes.
Different
different tastes.
What I can tell you,
and different things that make you happy.
what I can tell you, and what I know for a fact, is that you're happy at 68 with your choices, and I'm happy at 39
Right,
with my choices.
exactly.
I'm happy being a father, even though it's at times difficult. I'm like, I wouldn't have it any other way. I love my kids, and you're as happy as me not having kids, and that's okay.
But I will say this about happy marriages, and there are some. A number of times I have experienced a married couple who I was friends with, and suddenly they announce they're splitting up. And everyone is like, oh my God, I thought they were the happiest people in the world. What the fuck could have happened? Because married people are kind of geniuses at keeping the lid on it until it absolutely explodes. Now, this does not sound like your situation.
Well, yeah, we're not married, and the thing is, the positive thing about the relationship I'm in is we've had public blowouts, we've had family blowouts, and the thing that I know about her now, after 10, 11 years of being with her, is that no matter how far apart we get, we always come back together, and that has staying power, and that's why now, because we had a baby right away.
Right.
So sometimes people will be like, how could you not marry this woman? You have children. And it's like, well, we had children so quickly and so kind of out of the blue that now I can tell you after 10, 11 years, this woman is like on my side. And now I can say, now I'm thinking the idea of like, you know what? I'd like to marry you.
Yeah,
Because I've come around. We've kind of had a lot of tests, and I'm perfectly okay with knowing and taking on the risk of saying, if we don't work out, that's okay too. I understand that.
There's nothing like trust.
Yes.
And
I trust you.
it's only earned over a certain amount of time. You can have good instinct about someone, have a very good instinct about you,
Right.
but we shouldn't trust each other completely. We barely know each other.
Right.
It's only...
Well, yes, but I also think that there's connections and energy is different. Like I would say, and I'm being honest with you, I'm being genuinely honest with you, I'm being truly honest. I trust you, Bill Maher, even though I've only known you for a couple of hours, in a way that I don't trust some of my friends I've known from childhood. Because
true.
Because there's a genuineness about you, where if I'm telling you, I'm willing to take on the risk, where if I went and gave you my trust and you somehow inadvertently fucked me over, I would say I'm willing to take that risk still. And there's realness in energy. Energy is real.
I'm glad you said that.
Thank you.
Would you like to invest in something called Schmocoin?
Yes.
It's something I've been developing that I think you are our perfect prospectus.
Yes. Listen, to me,
no, but
Schmocoin is the coin.
You're absolutely right, I think. I've often thought the same thing, that you can know somebody in an hour or two better than someone else who you've known for 20 years.
Yes.
Some people just never give it up.
Right.
It's just their nature. I knew comedian friends like that. We had amazing sort of comic relationships. We were always making each other laugh, sitting in the back of the room at Catch a Rising Star or the Improv, giggling. And
Right.
But did we ever really? No, because they just aren't, there's a certain type of person who just doesn't go there.
Right.
At least not with me.
Right.
And I don't think with many people.
Right.
And then there's some people who are like, right away, are like, no, I have no secrets.
Yeah, because again, it's a genuineness.
Because we don't.
It's a realness.
Right.
That's the thing. It's a realness. It's like immediately, even though you've only known 2 hours, if you call bullshit, you'll call bullshit on me
Right,
to
and
my face, which I respect.
Yes, I know. You can take a punch. It's fantastic.
Why not? That's
No,
the only way I can come.
exactly. Yeah. And so can I. I mean, I love to be forced to say the words, I don't know. Because
Sure.
every time I say those words, I learn something.
Yes.
Timothy Leary told me that.
Timothy Leary, good Irishman.
You know who that is? No, you.
Tim
He
Leary, I
was
don't
the
know.
guy who introduced acid to the '60s. He was the guy with the
Oh,
acid.
I watched a documentary where he was in.
There
Yes.
you go.
I watched a documentary about psychedelics.
Well,
Yes.
see, you're slowly working your way toward real time.
Yes. Little
But-
bit. Well, if it were psychedelics,
but
I've taken
see-
a quick fair share.
That's what I love about a podcast like this. If you listen to the whole thing, sometimes it's almost a thread that's like it was written into a script. The whole thing about you with I can't get on real time, and then me feeling bad, and me feeling bad, and me feeling bad, and then we find out you don't even know about Trump and Biden. It was like the perfect ending
Yes.
to that bit.
To that
the
bit,
way
yeah.
that came back around.
And then
I couldn't have scripted it better.
And then in 2 weeks, I'm on real time. And let me ask you this, Bill. And then I know I know when I propose this question, you're going to say I'm crazy, but I want you to just,
Don't propose. I'm never getting married.
Bill, I just want you to take me up on this. And again, this is something Tucker Carlson said. I'm just putting it out there. This is something that I read on multiple Reddit forums and from trusted sources. And again, I know this is absurd. Bill, just listen to me. This is absurd what I'm about
Your
to say.
sources have proved themselves to be not trusted.
Is there a possibility that our existence as human beings, is possibly aliens? Just listen to me. Aliens are not up there or out there. They're right here in another dimension. They're fourth dimension, fifth dimension, sixth dimension. We are two-dimensional, three-dimensional beings that we can't see this dimension where aliens can be right there. Is it possible that we are, in fact, engaged in some type of prison planet where a fourth dimensional, fifth dimensional, sixth dimensional reptilian being who really rules the world is feeding off our guilt, anxiety, depression, negative emotions to fuel themselves off our stuff, and we are actually in this prison planet, and famous celebrities like Obama and Justin Bieber and people of that ilk have made a deal with these reptilian people to say, I will give you my soul to feed off my negative emotions for perpetuity, but in return, you give me, every time I die, I come back to a different part of history, which is happening all at the same time. I come back and I am as famous and successful as I was in every generation. No, I know it's
Okay.
absurd, but I'm asking you, is there any truth to that?
Are you talking about the valet parking guy?
Yes, I am. I'm talking about Chuck LaBella.
He's not reptilian.
Is there any truth to that, Bill, without making fun of me?
Chris, I would love it. We just a minute ago were talking about trust. So I feel
Which I
like I'm
respect
going to
about
take
you.
advantage of that. I'm going to
Please
take
do.
advantage of what you said about trusting me, because you should trust me.
I do.
I have all these years on you, and this is more my area, knowing things. It's the kind of stupid conspiracy theory nonsense that goes around on Reddit and right-wing websites and who knows God where else. And you just don't want to be the guy.
Mm-hmm.
You're too good. You're too smart. You're too successful. You don't want to be the guy who thinks this.
Okay.
Anything is possible.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Richard Dawson is the greatest atheist writing.
Sure.
Richard Dawson. No, what? Richard Dawkins. Richard Dawson.
Dawkins.
Dawson was the host of Family Feud,
Yeah.
who used to try to kiss all the chicks on the lips. He's not the greatest atheist.
Steve Harvey's the
No.
best Family Feud host of all time.
That's probably true.
Steve Harvey is the funniest guy of all
But
time.
Richard Dawkins, an atheist, and he says, on a scale of 1 to 7, 7 being absolute certainty, there's no God, I'm only a 6.9. We don't know anything. Could it
Fair.
be lizard people? It could.
Okay.
It's fucking not. It's like, could you win the lottery? Yes, but you won't. It's not that.
Okay.
It's something we don't know. But just because you don't know the answer to something, you shouldn't make up a story so you have an answer. No answer is a much more respectable intellectual position than making up a story.
Okay.
So, Jesus, you can have that one.
Sure.
But not the lizard, Chris.
Right.
Not the lizard.
So you don't think that we're this
I'm
is a
doing this as your friend.
this is not a
As your
reptilian
mentor.
planet. They're not. No, honestly, Bill, you ready for this?
I'm telling you.
I have told the public, and I've told people, my mentor has been Colin Quinn. You know Colin Quinn.
Of course.
Colin is a guy who's took me under his wing.
New Yorker.
New York City guy, an original
Great
13-year
guy,
like yourself.
funny guy.
I love Colin Quinn, but I would say Colin Quinn, even though we have a long-standing relationship, but you are as much of a mentor in these past 3 hours.
Has it been 3 hours?
It's been 2-3 hours.
Wow.
If it's too long,
wrap.
it's too long. No, Bill, listen, it's up. Obviously, it's your show.
It is amazing.
But I enjoy talking to you, my friend.
I am enjoying it too. That's why I thought, well, let's just keep going. But it is amazing how the podcast audience likes long.
They like
It's
long.
funny, when I started it, all of them were 1 hour. We used to do 2 in a day. It was too rushed. And I was thinking old thinking. I was thinking TV thinking. I'm a creature of TV. Do an hour show. Leave them wanting more. No. Podcast audiences are like, we're cheated after it. Really? Cheated? Yeah. It's so funny. The American attention span is either like 3 hours or 6 seconds.
That's it. They because I feel like your fans, right, who have followed you from politically incorrect to real time or whatever.
Right.
The podcast, though, your podcast fans who are, of course, following you from the TV sector, this format, they're so ingratiated to you because they're like, oh,
It's so different.
I feel like Bill's my, family member.
And that's how it should be.
And that's how it should be.
And that's why I wanted to build this the way it is, where you never see cameras. There's no other person in the room. It's just us. Because this is like as close as we could really be to doing it if we were doing it without cameras. I don't think I would have said one thing different.
Oh, Bill.
I don't think I edited one thing. I don't think I changed one thing.
Yeah. My brain shut off about an hour and a half ago, but we're still doing the pod.
Well, you've been great. So
well, I'm unconscious.
If your brain shuts off and you're still this funny, and also you like to talk to people who you could tell they're tracking what you're saying. Like they look you in the eye, and you are, and I do it too.
Yes.
I mean,
no, Bill.
There are some people who you just talk to, and it's like, we're kind of having two different conversations.
The thing about you that I respect is, and I'm sure you've heard this. I'm not saying anything abnormal, but I think there's some things that a less kind of plugged in person would look at you and watch Bill Maher, watch Real Time or watch the show and be like, oh, Bill Maher's so smug, right? I'm sure you've heard that word smug. And I would say, when I watch you as a comic and someone who I look up to, I say, you know what, your smugness, that part of you, there's a likability that comes out you remind me,
exactly.
You and Anthony Jeselnik, you know Anthony Jeselnik.
Love him.
Anthony Jeselnik, to me, is someone who I had one opportunity 10 years ago I'm sure he doesn't even remember, where I got to open up for him at Governor's Comedy Club out in Long Island. And his smugness came across so much that it was likable. And it's a talent that is so beyond rare, to the point that I've only ever seen you and Jeselnik be able to pull it off at that level. But again, the commonality between you two is the realness. That's why I think the show Real Time. It's spot on, because I'm like, you know what, man?
But I'm not
I'd rather you tell me you're too stupid to get on Real Time than you say, you know what? Yeah, sure, you'd be great someday. And then I have
stupid about politics.
Sure.
And it's a show about politics.
Right.
That's kind of the key crux, Chris.
Right. No.
Okay.
I get it. And dude, let me tell you, you want to talk about state capitals or the kinesiology of a human body? I'm your guy.
No, that's a different show. That's the one that comes on like 12:30 in the afternoon. It's usually hosted by a woman. Yeah. There's a cooking segment, and people learn.
I'm on The View.
Yeah. Well, not The View, but those daytime shows have people like
right.
Today we have a doctor who's going to show you how to flimber up, and anyway.
No. It's fine, Bill. I'd like to. If I won't get on the guests as real time, I'd like to come on and just be a part of it in the background. I'd like to hang out. I don't want to sleep over.
As I mentioned, you're not allowed in the building.
I want to sleep over.
You're right.
I want to go into your house and find Richard Dreyfuss with no pants on.
Here's what you were right about. We are going to be friends.
I believe we are.
And we made a hell of a start.
We couldn't do this on television.
No, and we wouldn't do it for any other reason.
Club. Random.
I feel like I've known you for years.
Right.
And I've known you for 3 hours.
That's my superpower.
What did you have for? What? Oh, okay.
Yeah,
we're done. We're done.